Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly live stream show where I talk about the weekend box office numbers. This is our 30th episode. That is pretty crazy. We haven't missed a Sunday for 30 weeks. Now, when I first started this show, I would have never thought that it would last this long, let alone did I think I'd be able to stay consistent with it. Now, to be fair, the times of this show have been ridiculous. Some episodes start at 3 o'clock, some start at 4, some start at 6. I think the latest episode we ever had started at 8. Well, we broke that record today. We're starting at 8:50. So this is officially the latest episode of Box Office Addict. Also, the lengths vary from episode to episode. Some episodes are 3 hours long. Some episodes are an hour and a half. Some are 45 minutes. It depends on how I play off the chat. It depends on the box office. Unfortunately, I think we will not have Bathory today because where she lives, which I'm not sure where she lives, but she doesn't live in the States. She has to go to school. So I believe that she will not be able to join us today, and I feel bad about that because I really wanted her to be here for the 30th episode. So if she doesn't show up, this episode's dedicated to Bathory, our dear friend and moderator, who's been with us for a long time. So, I've been talking about this for a while now. I am so sorry that I did this late today. My sister was in the hospital today. She was having pain in her arm and in her chest, and I was kind of concerned with that most of the day. And I just found out recently that she's okay. It was something like an acid reflux thing or something like that. And she got some medicine for it. This will be an all-nighter, yeah? No, it won't be an all-nighter. Well, I'm talking about the time for me. Where I live, it's I'm Eastern. It's 8:52 where I'm at. I get you guys live in different places. But yeah, I used to live in Texas, though, to that credit, to that. But yeah, my sister was in the hospital today, and that was kind of a big deal on Facebook and all that, so I was kind of trying to figure out what was going on there. And I was going to do Box Office Addict earlier. I thought I would have to hold off till Monday. And that really worried me because I thought, damn, I worked so hard to get here, and then I can't do the episode on the day of. But here I am. We're doing it, even though if it's a little late. So welcome to Top 10 Box Office Performances of 2017. I am going to name my own personal list. This is my list. I hope your sister will get well soon. She should be fine. It wasn't as bad as it. She just was in a lot of pain. And we were worried it was something serious, but she's all right. It's something that just kind of runs in my family, issues like that. But I'm here now, and I'm going to talk about what I think was the 10 most successful box office performances of the last year. Now, this isn't the most profitable films of last year. I don't know that yet. Those numbers haven't come out yet. I don't know how much money it made. I don't know how much money Wonder Woman made the studio exactly. I have a rough idea based off past experiences, but it'll be a little bit yet before we find out exactly how much profit the studio brought in, and Deadline's got to cover a lot of that stuff. I don't think it was food poisoning. I think it's a genetic thing. I think it was just something with stuff she ate and all that. I don't think it was food poisoning. I think food poisoning would be a lot worse. But these are my own subjective choices based off doing this for the last 30 weeks and thinking about what movies I thought were the most impressive performances. Now, most of these answers are cliche. These are all ones that made a lot of money, and they're in the top 10. But at the end of the year, maybe we'll see how these matches up with the actual profits. Then I have the honorable mentions, which are films that just didn't quite make the top 10, but I still think are worth mentioning for the fact that they did so well. Now, we also have the box office of this weekend, which would be the opening 50 Shades Freed, which is the third in that trilogy, Peter Rabbit, 1517 to Paris, the new Clint Eastwood film. We could talk about the performance of Jumanji and The Greatest Showman, Maze Runner. So we might get to that a little bit later. I don't plan on this being too long of an episode. It's probably going to be shorter than your typical episode. And last week we went a little bit shorter. Granted, I had Bathory to keep me on check on that, so I'm going to ask someone in the chat to make sure to keep me checked on time, because I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to check the clock too much. So you guys try to keep it up for me. Hey, phrasing, right? Anyone else excited about Kingdom Hearts 3 in spite of the badly written and convoluted prequel-esque story? I'm excited about it to go to the different worlds and stuff, but that doesn't mean it'll be a good game. So, who knows? But, you know, I'm glad too. Thank you. All right, you guys ready? Okay, I'm going to ask you guys in the chat real quick before we do this. Somebody name, what do you think is number 10 on my list? Now, if you see on the screen, I have the highest grossing films of the year. And some of these films are not in the top 10. And a couple of them should probably be in my top 10. I won't deny that, but, it's my own opinion. I'm not saying these are the movies that made the most money. These are the ones that impressed me the most. So, number 10, what do you guys think? Somebody throw a guess out there. You have from number 1 Star Wars all the way down to 15 to Logan, I would say. Wait, 50 Shades Freed? Bloody hell. I knew the book existed, but I didn't even know the film existed until now. Yeah, and it opened to 38 million. That's not bad for a third in a trilogy. Now, it didn't have that 85 million opening that the first film had. Holy crap, that was huge. But we knew that was going to be the case. I mean, the first movie had all the hype. I'm here, Huckleberry. Oh, wait, I do have a moderator. Thank God. Blood Money's here. All right, Blood Money, it's your job to make sure we stay on time today. Is Last Jedi number 10? No. And neither is it. But those are both very good choices. Thank you. All right, guys. Anyone else have a guess real quick? Because I don't want to drag this out too long. You're going to have to make your guesses quick. Sorry. But you have the options there. Now that you know the rules, though, maybe it'll be easier when we get to number 9, number 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Number 10. The 10th most impressive performance of the year. Despicable Me 3 from Universal and Illumination. The terrible Illumination who has made Secret Life of Pets, the Despicable Me franchise, Minions, the Lorax. This is why this is impressive. Now, if I'm just going off profit, this film would be much higher on the list. This would be in the top 3 or 5. Because this movie only cost $80 million and made $1,034 million worldwide. It's kind of hard to say this wasn't a major hit. Good guess, but not Spider-Man. But good guess. Very close. Wonder Woman. Only because it's actually no. But Despicable Me 3... it's probably going to be one of the most profitable films of the year. Secret Life of Pets was the most profitable film of 2016. It actually made more money than Deadpool for the studio. Now, with the budget this low, and this franchise has just been this way. I mean, let's go look at the worldwide box office of this franchise. Despicable Me, $543 million. The sequel, $970 million. The third film, $1 billion. And Minions, $1.1 billion. And I think Minions made the studio like $400 million. You have to include the merchandise here. I mean, this is the most successful modern-day animated franchise. This is what Shrek could have been. Shrek, at the point that Shrek 2 came out, and then Shrek 3 kind of killed hype, this franchise, they could make several more of these movies, and they're going to keep making money. It's easy for number 10. Are we going to expect a 50 Shades review from you? I might go see that movie. I'm going to get my girlfriend out to go see the new 50 Shades movie so I can give you guys a review. That'd be funny. This is the only reason this film's number 10 and not higher on the list. Why it's not in the top 5. Because of profits. How about Illumination's Mario movie that's apparently in the works? That could make a lot of money. Those guys make a lot of money because they get most of their animation done in Korea. But here's the reason that this is number 10. You knew this movie was going to make money. If you didn't think that Despicable Me 3 was going to make $1 billion, I don't know what was wrong with you. I predicted this forever ago because the last film made $970 million, and the Minions movie made $1.1 billion. Hey, Pat, any chance we'll see the Bright review upload eventually? Yes. Yes, you will. My Bright review, where I have a lot of stuff about Max Landis. It's just a scary review, that review, because I have a lot of stuff in there that's really... It's half a review, and the other half of the video's focus is to go after Max Landis. It's like I was going to do a video on Black Panther, and then I didn't make one, and everybody's done the video on the Black Panther views. But I do have a Black Panther video planned this week. I'm sorry I've only been making one video a week the last 2 weeks. I really apologize for that. The week before I made the Richard Roper video. This week I made the, the Game of Thrones news, anything like that. But, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I should be making 2 or 3 videos a week. I haven't done an underrated classics in a while. I haven't done a new movie review. And that does hurt my channel. If I'm going to be a review channel, I should be reviewing more movies. So I apologize. The Star Wars videos just overwhelmed me. Got so many new subscribers and things that I wasn't able to keep up with the channel. And I've just made a bunch of videos I'm unhappy with. I am working on the Kylo show. and we are working on that. We're like getting it written and producing it and figuring it out, so that is coming. But I do apologize that there's been such a lack of content on the channel. I realize that it's pretty much just been Box Office Addict for the last 2 weeks. And I used to be better about that. I used to be able to upload 3 or 4 videos a week. And I haven't really been that busy either. I just haven't had much inspiration. And a lot of the stuff I want to make videos on, everyone else makes videos on it. And it's like, I'm just late to the party, I guess. Even that Game of Thrones news I was late to. I'm going to be late to the Black Panther thing where, you know, the reviews are ridiculous. All right, so Despicable Me 3, you knew it was going to make money. I knew it was going to make money. The math was on its side. The budget was going to be low because it's Illumination. And even though domestically it didn't make near as much as the second film, internationally it killed. And the best thing about this was that Trey Parker's the voice of the bad guy. So a very deserved number 10 spot for Despicable Me 3. Once again, that movie probably made more money than some of the other films I'm going to mention, but I think that was obviously going to make money, so it doesn't impress me that much. I'm not impressed about it. What do you feel about Annihilation? Is that movie coming out by, God, the guy who wrote Ex Machina and, Sunshine and all that? I can't believe I can't think of his name. I even read his book, The Beach. What the hell is that guy's name? Alex, is it Alex something? Damn it, what's his name? I'm still trying to wrap my mind at how the movie Shrek could still exist within the world of Bright, because Will Smith makes a reference to it. Well, Max Landis said that wasn't in his original script, so it's very interesting. Of course David Ayer ruined the movie. David Ayer's a hack. He only made, like, 2 good movies, really, and the one was... And honestly, Training Day, that's a great script, but... That's about it. That's his one great piece of work, is the original script of Training Day was pretty good. All right, number 9. Number 9. What do you guys think number 9 is? Real quick. I need quick answers, people. If you're not quick enough, you're not going to get your answer in there. Alex Garland. Yes, Alex Garland. Yeah, of course I'm excited about that. Thoughts on Taxi Driver? Man, that deserves a video in itself. I don't think I could give Taxi Driver enough credit just in this little thing. Just check the site for local cinema. There's a Slender Man movie opening on May 18th. Know anything about that? Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. It looked really bad. What is number 9, people? Number 9. Number 9? Number 9? Man, you guys are really bad at this guessing thing. I feel like I'm on a game show and I'm asking you guys to compete and you're all sitting there like, I don't know what to say. The Jeopardy music's playing. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. Bright feels like Max Landis originally wanted to make a weird modern fantasy movie while David Ayer just wanted to make a Bad Boys-esque movie. Exactly, and Max is quoted as saying it was going to be his Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. That is gold. But hey, Mundane Matt liked it. He said it was a great movie. I mean, hell, if Mundane Matt said it, then it must be true. I mean, in his last live stream, he was saying how Red Letter Media isn't that funny. It doesn't have his taste of humor, and they're negative and nitpicky. And his sense of humor doesn't match theirs. And I wanted to say, Matt, you have a sense of humor? That's really impressive. I didn't know that. That was the first time I ever heard that Matt had a sense of humor. If I keep guessing Wonder Woman, I'll surely get right at least once. That's a good idea. Okay, number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. From Disney and James Gunn comes the much-anticipated sequel to the surprise hit that was Guardians of the Galaxy, a film that opened to $94 million back in 2014. Huge opening. $170 million budget, turned Chris Pratt into a star overnight. $773 million worldwide. Amazing performance. New franchise. Next film's guaranteed to make $1 billion. How can it not? How can it not? But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, while still making a crap load of money, ended up being a little bit of a disappointment. Mundane Matt tends to be too forgiving of particular movies. Yeah, because he doesn't want to be negative because it would hurt his... He said, I love in his recent video, he said, I'm not trying to talk crap on him, you know, like, well, I guess I am kind of, but I'm not trying to. It was just so silly what he said. He was talking about Red Letter Media, and then he got, like, he was straw manning them. He was saying that they're nitpicky or that they're negative and they seek negativity because it gets more hits. And I'm like, you clearly don't watch Half in the Bag. They give positive reviews all the time. All the time they give positive reviews, especially Jay. Jay all the time likes a lot of movies that come out. I don't know where he was saying they're negative, and then he was saying their sense of humor, he didn't find them very funny. He changed his whole point. He was saying that they were negative, and then he said that because he's worked on movies, maybe he understands how hard it is, so he's more forgiving. And I'm sitting there, I was like, Matt, you are aware that Red Letter Media has made several movies, and they've worked in the industry. Jay was even an extra in Nightmare on Elm Street. They've all worked in the industry, and they've all spent time on movies. They know how hard it is, too. He tried to do that, like, argument from authority, like, I've made Hollywood films, I've been in production, so I know how difficult it is, so I'm more forgiving. Red Letter Media is so mean. It's like, oh my god, come on, people. Come on, Matt. Once again, not trying to talk crap on Matt. I like Matt. I watch his live streams. It's very fun. But, you know, still, it was just like, he was just like trying to talk bad about Red Letter Media, and he's like, it's just personal taste, it's my opinion, you can't tell me my opinion is wrong. And I'm like, actually, I can. I can tell your opinion is wrong. You set it up as if they're automatically negative. I'm like, Matt, they're just film critics. It's criticism. It's not nitpicking. What, was Gene Siskel a nitpicker? Because he was critical? I mean... Then he will show up here. Mundane Matt's he didn't even know what my channel was. I went to a live stream this week, and everybody in the chat was like, "Hey, please rewind." And he was like, "Hey, I don't know who you are." And he like searched me and was like, "Oh, you get a lot of views on your stuff, man. That's good for you." And I was like, "Hey, thanks." But then I went to the next stream, and he was on there talking about Red Letter Media, and I'm like, "Matt, you have no room to say. You're a terrible reviewer. You don't know anything about movies. Don't give me that. You think you know more about movies than Jay and Mike or Rich? Are you kidding?" I mean, the only time he's ever negative is if it benefits him, like when Star Wars, it's time to talk crap about it. But I don't want to hear that crap from him. Bright's a good movie. I thought it was awesome. It's like, oh, come on, dude. I love that. If you're negative, that's not the kind of way. It's what film criticism is. It's called critic. It's not called film lover. If you just want to do videos where you love movies and talk about how much you love them, do what I do. Underrated classics, my favorite films. Those are about movies I like. When you're reviewing a film, you're supposed to review it. That's what Red Letter Media does. That's why everybody tries to copy them, and that's why everyone else can't do what they do. It's not because it gets more clicks. It's because they're honest. Because they actually have honest opinions. They're not forgiving. Okay, tolerance is condescending. Respect is a much more beautiful thing than tolerance. All right? If you can respect what somebody did, that means a lot more than if you like it. It really does. I'm talking about Mundane Matt, but thank you, Female Empowerment. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. $200 million, but and also if Matt, which he would never have me on a live stream, I could easily debunk everything he said about Red Letter Media in 5 seconds. And with actual videos, I could go through their videos and show him where he's wrong about that. But, you know, that's whatever. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we knew this was going to make money. This is why this is number 9. Once again, of course this movie made a lot of money. It's the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a huge thing. This is Marvel. In fact, I'm shocked this didn't make more money. It cost $200 million, and look at that international total. It's not that much higher than the previous film. What is it, like 30 million more? And the domestic total wasn't that much bigger. This wasn't a disappointment because it still made a lot of money. I mean, Jesus Christ, 863 million. But, having said that, I would have thought this film was going to make $1 billion, if not more. I definitely would have thought 900 million. Red Letter Media is very funny. Yes, they're hilarious. It's laugh out loud funny. Mike and Jay are also cynical in a fun, mockful way. Yes, it's a joke. It's very self-aware, everything they do. They're not being negative on purpose. That's a joke of who they are. It's part of the persona. There's so many in-jokes with Red Letter Media that have existed for years. And if you watch their videos, you understand that. Yeah, they're just comedians, yeah. And then when he's like, their sense of humor, he said, just like they wouldn't like my sense of humor. And I go, what sense of humor, Matt? You're not known for being funny. I've never heard anyone ever say ever, oh, Mundane Matt, what a funny channel. He's like a news channel. He does like good news and coverage of articles. He reads articles well and all that. It's like, you're not a comedy channel. We talk about they wouldn't like my sense. You don't have a sense of humor. What the hell are you talking about? It's ridiculous. $200 million budget, $863 million worldwide. This film, the only reason this wouldn't be higher is because Spider-Man Homecoming made more than this. I'm pretty sure Wonder Woman made more profit. A lot of movies did better than this. This should have outperformed something like, especially domestically, this should have done better than Wonder Woman. This should have beat Spider-Man Homecoming worldwide. It didn't. So it's number 9. Still, major success for Marvel. They had 3 films come out this year that made $850 million worldwide. And you think that, you know, you knew it was going to do this. $146 million opening weekend. So it's a solid number 9 for sure. Number 9, and you knew it was going to be in the top 10. You have to put it in the top 10. It was a successful movie. It made a lot of money. Critics liked it. A lot of fans liked it. There was kind of a mixed reception, somewhat, but I think it's kind of balanced out to mostly positive, including Red Letter Media, who liked this movie. Jay and Mike gave this a positive review. They actually talked very highly of this film, but they just nitpick and spread negativity. But yeah, this is number 9, and that's a terrific number. I'm very happy for James Gunn, even though his Twitter's just getting worse and worse by the day. He's sharing memes that are like a year old. But what are you going to do? You know, your mom does it. Why can't James Gunn do it too? All right, people, number 8. What is the 8th film on my list? I gotta know. Did anyone see the trailer for Amy Schumer's new movie? It's awful. Of course we didn't. How well do you think Black Panther would do? Very well. I think Black Panther's going to open anywhere from 140 to 150 million and probably make 400 million domestic. What do you think about people claiming racism for the negative reviews of Black Panther? I'm working on a video about that, so I'm not going to spoil that video here, but I am making a video about that very specific thing. I already did a video covering that, though. Go watch one of my old videos called The Virtue Signaling of Film Critics, where I talk about Catherine Bigelow's Detroit. And I basically break down. There's this pretty good comedian on YouTube named Logan Paul. Pretty obscure guy, but I promise, you watch one of his vids and it'll end up hanging around for a while. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to leave you to hang out to dry with that one. No, none of that. Alright. So, but the thing is, God, what was I even freaking... Oh, Black Panther. I did that video about Detroit, because critics have already done this. They do this with every film that stars African-American, except Tyler Perry films, and except for, like, Blade and that. Whenever there's a new black film now, they all rally around it. Moonlight. It's a masterpiece. They did it with Detroit, and they'll write in the reviews, they'll talk about systemic racism and how this film is so relevant, and it shows black identity right now and what you go through. Black Panther's going to be a huge hit. Black Panther's going to be a big, big hit. No doubt about it. There's no way that movie won't make a lot of money, especially domestically. All right. Anyone made number 8 yet? These are all really good choices, though. I got to give you guys credit. Those are all good choices, but they're all wrong. Spider-Man Homecoming from Sony. Now, I know what you're thinking. This should be higher on the list. This should be top 5. Well, here's why I put Spider-Man Homecoming at number 8. I would have put this higher on the list had this been Marvel. Had this been a solely Marvel-produced film, I probably would put... But the fact that it is Sony, and they had to rely on Marvel for this, it just takes a hit in it for me. Like, this isn't really... A lot of this isn't Sony's doing. A lot of this is Robert Downey Jr. being in this, the setup from Civil War, bringing Spider-Man back into the mainstream that way. Great marketing. Kevin Feige being involved. Amy Pascal had nothing to do with the success of this movie, in my opinion. So that's why it's not higher up on the list. I would say solely because it's because this film is, you know, and it's Spider-Man. Now, this film maybe deserves to be higher because it did outgross the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And when this film first opened to that great 117 million, its second weekend was a 62% drop, and then a 49% drop, a 40% drop. So it didn't look like the film would actually reach like 310 million, and it ended up making 334 million domestic. It was a huge crowd pleaser. It got great reviews. It made 880 million worldwide. The international box office on this was great. I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. helped with that a little bit. So this was, you know, even Amazing Spider-Man 2, that was a film that got terrible reviews. Critics didn't like it. You know, audiences didn't like it, and it still made 700 million worldwide. I think Spider-Man Homecoming has good writing. I thought it had good writing too. Thoughts on the Venom trailer? The most cliche teaser trailer I've ever seen. The most boring, cliche, poorly thought out teaser trailer ever made is the Venom trailer. I'm astonished how bad it is. I can't believe they released it. It was embarrassing. But you knew Spider-Man was going to make money. We just didn't know how much. And it did overperform. Nobody thought this would make like almost 900 million worldwide. The international box office on this killed. $175 million budget, so there's no doubt this film's made a lot of profit. It made more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Wonder Woman, Thor Ragnarok. It made more than all of those movies. So why is it at number 8? Why isn't it higher? Well, it's just that Sony thing, you know? Sony, because they screwed up so bad with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, it took Marvel to fix this. The Amazing Spider-Man movies, the first one made $757 million. It's not like Spider-Man financially ever lost his thing. They just went way over budget. That first film cost $230 million, and the sequel cost $258 million. Look at this film, $175 million. I mean, Jesus Christ, if Sony hadn't ruined Spider-Man and let Raimi do 4 and 5, those films would have made $1 billion. I guarantee you. Comic book movies blew up even bigger the year after Spider-Man 3. 2008, when Marvel started, if they would have come out with Spider-Man 4 in like 2009, 2010, I guarantee you it would have made $1 billion. No doubt in my head it would have done that. What's up, Pat? Just joining now. Been a fan since you were the patriarchy. Oh! What are you, Andrew Dice Clay? Thank you. Well, we're doing the top 10 box office performances of 2017, according to me. It's no one else's opinion, obviously. It's just me. Ruben Flesher should go back to being irrelevant. Hey, good point. But 117 million opening weekend was great. That's the biggest opening of Marvel debut solo outing, although Black Panther is going to pass that when it comes out on the 16th, which I guess is next weekend. So 880 million worldwide. No doubt this film made a lot of profit. But like I said, Sony, the Spider-Man movie should have already made this money. They were already making 750 million. If either one of the Amazing Spider-Man films had been really good, or the sequel had been good, they would have made this kind of money. The second film could have made $1 billion had it been a great movie. Because it sucked so bad, it was the Batman and Robin of the franchise in a lot of ways. It knocked Spider-Man back down, and then Marvel had to bring him back up. But Spider-Man's always bankable. He's always going to be bankable. The original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire opened to $114 million in 2002. That's only $3 million. I mean, that's $3 million difference between that and this is 2017. Spider-Man's a box office juggernaut. So it's kind of like Batman. If a movie with Batman in it's not making money, it's never the fault of the character. It's the studio. Batman v Superman had a huge opening weekend. Justice League should have made more money. It's because they screwed it up. Okay, I mean, the Nolan trilogy speaks for itself financially. You go from a $375 million film to $2 billion films. That's the power of Batman. And Marvel just proved that Spider-Man also has that power. So the reason it's number 8 mainly is because this is the performance Spider-Man should have had for a long time. Anyone in the chat get a chance to watch The Ritual in Netflix yet? Hey, Pat, hope you're having a good one. I was just looking at Box Office Mojo. Peter Rabbit seems to have had a great start. He had a pretty good start. From Spider-Man to Ghost in the Shell. From Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man to Ghost in the Shell and now Venom, has producer Avia Rod made it his mission to ruin anything he touches? Isn't it weird? I think he wrote like Ordinary People, one of my favorite movies. He wrote the script to that movie, even though pretty much it was just the book. He didn't really change anything, the dialogue's even from the book. Alright, people, number 7. What is my number 7? So far it's been Despicable Me 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Spider-Man Homecoming. What is number 7 on my top 10 list? Someone throw it out there. Some of you have actually gotten this right. And I actually like Spider-Man Homecoming. I've reviewed a review for it up on this channel. I think I gave it like a 7. I said it was a pretty decent movie. It had a good script. I can't understand what exactly was the problem with the Amazing Spider-Man films. I do like them, but I really don't know what was the reason it wasn't good. I mean, this first one's okay. The second one, holy crap, where do I start? Electro being ridiculous, over the top, that scientist guy that's with him, plot holes, the bad dialogue, his parents coming in and out in this convoluted story, the bad dubstep score that has Electro voiceover, I mean, God, Spider-Man only being in it for about 25 minutes at best in a 2.5-hour movie. Harry Osborn and him see each other after 10 years, and then they're best friends, and he's like, hey, you still blow-dry your hair? And it's like, oh, shut up. And then, yeah, really bad acting. Everything's contrived. It all takes place at Oscorp. Everyone works at Oscorp. Everyone who knows everyone is at Oscorp. Yeah, I'll just say right now, Dunkirk's not in the top 10. So if you keep saying Dunkirk, you won't get it. Thoughts on Boogie Nights? What's your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film? Boogie Nights is a wonderful movie. It is definitely inspired by Altman, Scorsese, Hal Ashby. It's a wonderful mix of these things. It's a love letter to the 70s. It's a movie about family more than anything. You are correct. Number 7 is Wonder Woman. We have Thor, Wolf Warrior 2, Dunkirk, Showgirls, and Showgirls. Showgirls would be number 1 if I had my pick. Blade Runner 2049. That would be hilarious. I just put it at number 1. Yes, Wonder Woman. Good job. You got one. You got one. Good job. My favorite PTA film is probably Magnolia, but I think its most enjoyable is Boogie Nights. And I love There'll Be Blood, though, but yeah, I haven't really liked his recent work. I don't like Inherent Vice. I'm pretty mixed on The Master. I still have to see Phantom Thread, but I'm not won over. I really haven't liked anything he's made post There'll Be Blood. Okay, Wonder Woman. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that is female empowerment. Wonder Woman, man, $149 million budget, 412 domestic. This was the biggest movie of the summer domestically. Outgrossed all of those other superhero films. And some of the best holds I've seen in years. The multiplier in this movie was crazy. Like, look at these drops: 29%, 30%, 27%, 24%. Then it increases here. I mean, Wonder Woman had great legs. I didn't think it was that good of a movie. I really don't get why critics like this movie so much. It got like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's just not... I really don't get the love for this movie at all. I think it's like a very mediocre movie, outside of it not being as shockingly bad as it could have been. But you can't deny the financial performance. This outperformed Man of Steel. This outperformed Batman v Superman. Even if Batman v Superman made $873 million, that doesn't mean anything because that budget was huge on that film. And the domestic total was not $412 million. Wonder Woman's opening weekend was only $103 million and ended up making $412 million. That's crazy. This is easily going to be one of the most profitable films of the year. The reason this is a solid number 7 is that this is establishing a new franchise for DC when they need it most. This did not save Justice League. Justice League was a disaster. But I thought the Wonder Woman thing would carry over. It didn't. That's fine. But you have to look at it in a way that, you know, people probably knew about the behind-the-scenes controversy with the film, and they knew that Zack Snyder made it, and people kind of gave up on him. I think once they make Wonder Woman 2 and they put Patty Jenkins' name on it, and it's, you know, it's a sequel, I think it'll do very well. I think this franchise is popular in a separate way from the rest of the DC films. And it was a major hit. It had great legs. It made $409 million internationally. It's at $821 million worldwide. It's the most successful DC film since a Christopher Nolan Batman movie. It's even more successful than Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad cost more than this, and up until a point, that was a very successful film. I mean, this probably made over $200 million in profit for the studio. I guarantee you this probably made, if not more than that, like $250. Because I believe the first Guardians made $205 million. Of a net profit for Disney, so this could make even more. I could definitely see it. So this was a great performance. The only reason it's not higher on the list, even though it probably deserves to be, is I think some other films did things that are going to lead to more money down the road. I think these other franchises and films are going to make just more money than the Wonder Woman series. Even if the next Wonder Woman makes $1 billion, I think all the films that I'm going to mention after that are going to make more money than that. So that's the only reason Wonder Woman's not in, like... And I'm even just talking profits and budget and marketing. This film, I don't even know if it was great marketing that made this work. And honestly, might have just been that people were craving a female superhero film and nobody was really making it. I mean, women are a market. They are a market. Look at 50 Shades Freed. That's majority woman. Think about Twilight. Women are a huge market, and Hollywood's not ignoring it. They're capitalizing on it for sure. Yes, it was a pun. Thank you. I'm glad somebody picked up on that. But yeah, this is a great... Do you like Bronson? Yes, of course. Tom Hardy, it's a great movie. Nicholas Winding Refn. So some people might be a little bit mad that that's not higher on the list, but hey, it's my list. Make your own list. I don't care. If you want to put Wonder Woman at number 3, go ahead. That's fine. Number 6. I'm just going to just try to speed through a few of these so we can get to the fun ones, all right? How about that? You guys up for that? Let's just try to speed round a few of these. Number 6. I don't think any of you guys would guess this either because I haven't seen anyone throw this out there. Number 6 is The Fate of the Furious from Universal. $1,236 million worldwide. Now, here's the thing. This film has a huge freaking budget. This film cost $250 million to make. That's not including marketing. And domestically, this made $226 million. This film didn't perform as well domestically as Furious, I believe not Furious 7, but Fast and the Furious 6 even. If you look at all the recent ones, since the franchise got big again with Fast 5, because I don't even really count the Fast and the Furious as the kickoff on. I think it was Fast 5. That was the one that really like solidified this being what it was. Now the first Fast and the Furious, when you look at ticket price inflation, it made $190 million domestic. So this was a huge hit. And this was just a massive hit back in the day. And then they screwed the franchise up. They made a sequel that made money. Vin Diesel wasn't in it. They made a third film. It didn't do that great. He has a cameo at the end. Then they bring back Vin Diesel. And they bring back Paul Walker. The whole team comes back. And it just blows up. Fast and Furious. This one made 100. This isn't the original one. But yeah, it had a $70 million opening weekend on an $85 million budget. So the franchise was back. It was back in a big way, and it was like, hey, wow, this franchise didn't die. Where's the original? There's the original Fast and the Furious. Now, that adjusted, they're saying, is $231 million? Oh, wait, that's the Fate of the Furious. I swear that said that does say the Fast and the Furious. Oh, there it is. They're right beside each other. My bad. The Fast and the Furious originally made $144 million domestic on a $38 million budget. That was made by Rob Cohen, yeah. That's right, yeah. He did, Dragonheart, yeah, The Skulls. The Skulls is one of my favorite guilty pleasure films. That's a great So Bad It's Good. But $40 million opening weekend, $270 million worldwide, put Vin Diesel, post-Saving Private Ryan, into new fame. He made Triple X. But I thought this franchise, like a lot of people, years ago was a dead franchise. I mean, I've never seen a franchise do this in the box office. I've never seen a franchise that's completely died and then somehow come back to become one of the most successful things ever. And that's basically what the Fast and the Furious. It's bigger now than it ever was. It's crazy how big this franchise has gotten internationally. And they're planning on doing spin-off films with Jason Statham and The Rock, which are going to make money. The Rock coming into Fast 5. Let's look at Fast 5 from Justin Lin. When that came out, that film made $626 million worldwide. That was some major shit at the time. Okay, The Rock took that franchise to new heights. That was the best reviewed film of the franchise. $86 million opening weekend. Then we get Fast and the Furious 6, which had a $97 million opening weekend. Now, that's the same opening of the Fate of the Furious, and that's not adjusted. So this was pretty much the same performance, $238 million domestic. But that worldwide total was almost $800 million. Then the tragic death of Paul Walker boosts the box office of Furious 7, directed by James Wan, a horror director, playing in the big leagues. The untimely death of Paul Walker just boost this film that they go do reshoots. So this is a film that was probably cost $150 million, and then it ended up costing $200 million, just about $190. I mean, this looked like it was going to be. I mean, we all knew it was going to be a hit. I definitely thought it was going to open over $100 million. Ever see the SNL movie Pat? Yeah, I have. Dave Foley's in that. Very good movie. That's a very underrated dark comedy. I actually like all of the SNL films. I like Superstar. I like Night at the Roxbury. But I have seen Pat. Hi, I'm Pat. Really good. In fact, I might have even gotten the name from that. Because I remember that movie from being a very young child. So I don't know. Maybe I even got the name Pat from that. That's really weird to think about. Hey, Pep, would the Hollywood Ghost in the Shell has ever been worse if Zack Snyder had been the director? It probably would have been the same, honestly. I don't think it would have been worse or better. That movie is what it is. The good thing about that movie was the visuals, and that's the only thing Zack Snyder's somewhat good at. Thank you for asking me about that movie, though. It's a very nice movie. It's got a nice little romance in it, too. And I love the one guy who's obsessed with Pat. And at the end, Pat's hanging at the concert, and everyone's trying to see the genitalia. But this film made $353 million domestic. Not only was its opening weekend bigger than the previous films, it was way bigger, $147 million. That's a box office boost I haven't seen. And this was that Avengers moment for this franchise. This movie made $1.5 billion worldwide. Everybody made bank off this movie. And this film ended up banking a profit of like $350 million. A netting a profit of that for Universal. I mean, this franchise is Universal's Marvel, is the Fast and the Furious franchise. So then you get the Fate of the Furious, all right? So it's Vin Diesel turning on his boys, you know? And F. Gary Gray, who just came off directing Straight Outta Compton, a movie that I love. And he directed Law Abiding Citizen, a film I think is very fun. The Italian Job's fun. He did The Negotiator, Friday. Always a director I liked. He is now the first black filmmaker to have a film make $1 billion worldwide. I think he currently is the only black filmmaker to have a film that's made $1 billion worldwide. So this was a big deal in a lot of ways, getting him after Straight Outta Compton, which I think made a lot of sense. Now, here's the thing. This film did disappoint domestically. There's no way around it. This performance was on par. I thought you got the name Pat from Patriarchy. Well, yes, but it originally started with Pat. Then the pun came from that. I knew I wanted the name to be Pat, and then I said Pat Ryarchy as a joke. But I can't actually remember I can't remember the moment Pat became a thing. I would love if Fast and the Furious went into space in the next film. I think that's a genius idea. Thank you. But 98 million opening weekend and 226 million domestic. Now this didn't make its money back domestically. And you got to think about how much back end all the actors are getting. But having said that, even though this film disappointed domestically and it didn't perform as well as the previous two films, this film made $1 billion at the foreign box office. So that momentum that went into Furious 7 did not leave this film. The international box office of this franchise is crazy. You would have to make the argument that every single Fast and the Furious film from this point on could possibly make $1 billion just at the foreign box office, and the domestic total doesn't even matter anymore. This is how the Transformers franchise started to get a few years ago, where they were making so much money worldwide, like $1.1 billion. Pat's not my real name, no. Pat is the name of the... what was the name of the original character I did, and then I just transferred it over to this one. But no, my name is not Pat. But a lot of people call me that, you know. It's pretty common now. A lot of my friends, so it's not a big deal. It's a lot easier. So $1,236,000,000, that $1 billion, you just have to think that every film now is going to do this, and the spin-offs are going to do this. So why this is in front of Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, and all that, well, basically, those are all part of the Marvel machine, or Wonder Woman's going to make its money, Despicable Me 3, you know that was going to... This is solidifying this as possibly... modern day, outside of Marvel, the most successful movie franchise out there. This solidified it. Because this is the second highest grossing film of the franchise, and you just know the next one's going to make $1 billion, and they plan on making 2 more in 2020 and 2021. And those both should make over $1 billion. Guaranteed. So the reason this is so high up on the list is, one, they made a lot of profit off this. And also $1.2 billion worldwide is nothing to scoff at. This is the third highest grossing film of the year. Only Last Jedi and Beauty and the Beast made more than this worldwide. They had better domestic performances, mind you, but still, great performance. No doubt they're going to make a few $100 million off this movie, and they're going to continue to make money off this franchise, and with The Rock and the Jason Statham spinoffs, and so I think... The reason this is so high, it's not quite top 5, because it's a mix of things, profits, performance, expectations. But to me, the reason this is high is this solidified the franchise. The last film showed how high it could go. This one is like the Age of Ultron, where it shows, well, hey, even if it doesn't reach that number, this franchise isn't going anywhere. It has a fan base worldwide. And even if it loses momentum, even if the next one only makes $800 million at the foreign box office, that's still huge. That's still huge, and it's way bigger than all these other films that came before it. So I really can't see. Yeah, Disney can take those bombs, though, like Tomorrowland. They have so many hits now. All right, so that's a big moment for Vin Diesel and everyone involved, and he was also in Guardians 2, but he's just the voice of Groot. All right, people, number 5. Let's get to number 5. Number 5 is alive. Johnny 5 is alive. All right, number 5 is a film that, honestly, you could make the argument to be number 1. I really think you could, if you wanted to. I think if you're trying to be honest, you're like, you know what was really the most impressive performance this year? What was the single most impressive box office opening performance and where we're at? Will A Wrinkle in Time be the first $100 million directed by an African-American woman to start a race war here in America? Yeah, well, the critics also give that movie 98% on Rotten Tomatoes and say that it's a masterpiece that's all about inclusion. I can't wait for that, too. That's all it's going to be with those movies. But yeah, Disney can handle bomb. They're one of the only studios that really can just write a bomb off like it's nothing. Number 5 is not in the top 10 biggest movies of the year. It's not Pirates, but Pirates honestly didn't make that much profit when you factor in its budget. It's not any of these movies. It's a little film that a lot of people thought was going to open well. In fact, a lot of people thought it was going to open very well. But nobody thought it would open as well as it did. And beyond that, it's a film that not only opened well, it continued to perform well, which a lot of these films did. But this was a film that was part of a franchise that had been dead. Not dead, but hadn't had anything done with it in maybe 30 years, if not longer. I mean, it was a long time. I'd say 35 years or something like. I can't remember the specific time, like 32 years, something like that. But it was years that this franchise was dead. And it was because of nostalgia and this franchise still being relevant to a lot of people from something from their childhood that it was able to come back and bring fear. Yes, it is it. Thank you. So finally, someone. But the Jumanji guess is pretty close. It is what's his name? Andy Muccicelli, who directed it. It is his film version of It, the Stephen King book, starring Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. Andres Muschietti? I think it's something like that's how you say his name. I haven't said his name since the damn movie came out. Sorry, I used to know it real quick off the top of my head. Jumanji did really well, and it's still going strong. I agree with you. It is. $35 million budget on this film. This was going to be directed by Cary Fukunaga, who left the project, but then they still used stuff from a script. He's, of course, the director of Beasts of No Nation, the first season of True Detective. One of my favorite directors that's working today. He left the project, and then they brought in the director of Mama, which was a very successful movie. Mama made $146 million worldwide, and I think the budget was about $15 million. Now, we all knew it was going to be a hit. That's pretty funny. But we did. We knew that the movie was going to open, honestly, a lot of the expectations were 60, 70 million. I think I said 70 million. I think I said 70, 75 million, But it blew up everyone's expectations. This movie opened to 123 million, which is the biggest opening for a horror film. It's the most successful horror film since The Exorcist from the 70s. Adjusted for ticket price inflation, too. This is the single most successful horror film since The Exorcist, which is the most successful horror film of all time. And it still is. They're going to say that this is, but The Exorcist made so much money in the 70s. It's crazy. That movie, by today's standards, The Exorcist made like $500 million domestically or something. It's crazy. But still, think of all the successful horror films that have come out over the last 10, 20 years. Even Scream, the Scream franchise, the Saw franchise, Paranormal Activity. There's a lot of franchises that made a lot of money. None of them made money like this. Nobody made money like this. And hey, Pat, having seen some of the Beasts of No Nation, I could see how Cary Fukunaga would be great for future adaptation of Evangelion. He'd be great for anything. That guy's a genius. That guy's a wonderkind. He's a genius. He shoots his own stuff, and it's amazing. The cinematography to Beasts of No Nation is astonishing. He's just a genius. I have nothing negative to say about Cary. I think he's the next David Fincher. That's how I see. I think True Detective was his 7. And I think he's going to continue to make great films the rest of his career. I think his version of it would have been a modern-day Shining. I think it would have been one of the greatest horror films maybe ever made. But instead, we got a pretty good movie. I gave this film a 7. In fact, I'd probably give it a 6 now, 6 or 7, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. Wonderful cinematography. Great cinematography from Chan-wook Park's DP. God, what's his name? How? Something like How. But yeah, he shot Old Boy and stuff. Wonderful cinematography. Got good score, great acting from the kids. I mean, this is basically Stranger Things. And it succeeded coming off the nostalgia things. Nostalgia things. That's even better. And the nostalgia things boom from 2016. That's actually a funny. Didn't intend to say that. But here's the thing. Tim Curry playing Pennywise in that 90s miniseries, that never died off. There's still memes of that. I still see people wear shirts of that. There was so much nostalgia for it. It stayed relevant. And people wanted a remake. Honestly, you could make the argument it's crazy the studio waited so long to even make this. Why did it take so long to make an It movie? And then you've had the last few years of the scary clown incident and you know the controversy with that, and so you know a lot of things here added up to this being successful. But I'm not just putting this on you because of the profits. I mean, it's a film that cost $35 million and it made $700 million worldwide. This is going to be easily one of the most profitable films of the year. I can't imagine how much money this movie made the studio. Then when you think about they have a sequel coming out and that's going to do well, $327 million domestic, and this film got great reviews. It has 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. People really liked it. You know, it did really well overall. So, you know, the reason it's on here for me, though, is that this is the most successful horror film in a lot of ways ever. It's the most successful modern-day horror film. It shows that horror films can be blockbusters. Even though this is more of a blockbuster in like a Spielberg-y way, the Goonies way. It's less of a horror film, in my opinion, and more of like kids teaming up together to fight the bad guy kind of movie, which I'm not knocking. That was clearly the right idea. But this film made so much money. It was huge. I mean, everyone talked about this movie. There's memes of it everywhere. It's killing on video. This is going to be on TV for the next 20 years. This is a very successful movie. It's going to lead to a series of Stephen King adaptations, because Dark Tower was a disaster. They're remaking Pet Sematary now. This is a comeback. This is the most successful Stephen King adaptation. This is the most successful modern day anything involving Stephen King. I mean, this is so much. This is huge for Stephen King. This is huge for the director. This is huge for all of these kid actors. This is huge for pretty much everyone involved with this is going to benefit for the next few years off this movie. And it's, hey Pat, would a hip hop soundtrack make Black Panther seem more dated years from now? I don't think so. Hip-hop soundtracks don't make movies seem dated that came out in the, like, 80s and 90s. So I don't see how a hip-hop soundtrack would make a movie dated in the 2000s. Hip-hop's very modern music. How do you feel about Mute and Duncan Jones? Did he ever make Mute? I really like Duncan Jones' first two movies. I didn't like Warcraft, but did he ever make Mute? I know that he was working on it, but then he did World of Warcraft. Since Part 2 will take place in 2016... it would be a missed opportunity to make the clown references from the time. Yeah, I'm interested what they're going to do. They're going to be playing with it in 2016, and then they're going to be using flashbacks of the kids' actors and having them parallel each other. Which, you know, I guess maybe was a good idea. A lot of that was Cary Fukunaga's idea. He wanted to split them up into two. But having said all that, though, yes, it is a solid number 5. And you honestly, like I said, you could make the argument for this being number 1 just based off the profits. But the problem with this is this isn't a franchise. They're only going to make a sequel and maybe a few more It movies. They're not going to make like 8 or 9 It movies. And I don't think they'll ever have this kind of success again. This was lightning in a bottle. This kind of thing doesn't happen too often. And every other film that's a horror movie or something like this is going to try to recapture what happened here. So the reason it isn't higher, because I would put this higher, I would really, is that I don't think they're going to get too much traction out of this. I think they're going to make money for a few years. But this isn't like Fast and the Furious. This isn't like, this isn't going to be some of the other films I had, but you have to put it up high on any list because of this performance. This is a legendary performance for a movie. This is one of the most impressive modern day box office performances, and it deserves all of the respect and the praise to the marketing. The best marketing campaign of 2017 by far, the most viewed trailer of all time. They did everything right. Warner Brothers killed it on this one, and it's an easy number 5. Easy number 5. Could have been number 4 or 3. Oh, it does come out next month? Okay, yeah, I thought he was working on it. Do you think Black Panther will become more iconic than any other Marvel movies because of the soundtrack being more original? It depends on what iconic means to you. In a lot of ways, the Iron Man's iconic. You have to, I don't know. Maybe. That's a tough question, honestly, because I think it's different for everyone what's going to be iconic to them. I don't think Marvel's done that much iconic stuff, actually, in my opinion, but I know a lot of people feel differently than that, so I'm not sure. I think the soundtrack's going to help the movie. I think it's going to be... Oh, yeah, the It memes are amazing. And yeah, also, honestly, just for the memes alone. All right, people, number 4. Number 4 is one of the most... it's just crazy. The reason I'm bringing this film up so high on the list, because honestly, a couple films on this list made more money than this movie. A few films on this list made more money. The reason this one's so high on the list for me is because this brought this franchise to new heights. And this honestly brought this franchise back to life, to where this franchise can continue for another decade. It elevated the lead character of this franchise to a new status that no one's ever had before. Previously, he didn't have this with his previous movies. It makes him a major player in this universe. And it was just a very successful film. It got great reviews and it made a lot of money. You probably know what I'm talking about. Number 4 is Thor. 4 for Thor. Thor Ragnarok from Taika Waititi. Now, Fast and the Furious made more money. Wonder Woman's going to make more profit. It's going to make more profit. This film cost $180 million. Those films didn't cost as much. This film made $314 million domestic. Those films made more than that domestically. Well, not Fast and the Furious, but the other ones. This film made $853 million worldwide. Spider-Man Homecoming made more than that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 made more than that. Despicable Me worldwide made more than all of these movies. But my choices aren't just based off profits. It's based off what it does for the franchise and what they accomplished with it. And I think Thor 3, what it did was it solidified Chris Hemsworth now as a major player. I think now he's right there with Robert Downey Jr. Not quite there, but he's right there like with Chris Evans. You know, Winter Soldier took Chris Evans to this new place to where he became a fan favorite in a lot of ways. And then he's a huge character now. And then, you know, Captain America Civil War makes $1.1 billion. He's huge in the Infinity War trailer. The Thor movies were never the big ones. You know, the first Thor did it really well. It made $449 million on a $150 million budget from Kenneth Branagh. And the second film, which was a lot of people consider to be the worst Marvel movie, myself included, made $745 million. No, I think even less than that. I think that film made like $645 million worldwide. Let me go look. That film might have made $700 million. But that film, it cost, I think it was $170 million was the budget to Dark World. And it had an $85 million opening weekend, which was really good. Yes, from Alan Taylor, Game of Thrones fame. That's a good opening weekend. But then it had huge drops, $206 million domestic. Most people I know, they consider this the most boring Marvel film. And then it made $644 million worldwide. It got that Avengers boost. Well, it got blown out by Winter Soldier. Now, here's the funny thing. The original Thor movie actually made $100 million more, I believe, than the first. See, if you dislike that they made Thor too much like Guardians of the Galaxy, I get that. But from a financial standpoint, that was exactly the right move to make. That was a genius move to make Thor like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I can get if you don't like that they did that, but from a marketing, selling standpoint, that was... Because Thor just... He wasn't crossing over. I don't think he was catching on like they wanted him to, especially after this movie, which they make fun of in Ragnarok. Thor just wasn't... He wasn't really... You know, this film, it didn't underperform. It made profit. But then, you know, the first Thor did really well. It outperformed the first Captain America. And then by the time Winter Soldier came out and the Russos made that, it made $714 million worldwide. It had a better opening weekend. So Marvel knew they had to do something with Thor to get Thor back on top. And you got to think about that trailer with Immigrant Song. And that's how he pitched the movie. That trailer for Thor Ragnarok was huge. It was like the second most viewed trailer of the year. It was crazy. And them tapping into a comedy, because the one thing I really thought with the Avengers films that was shown was that Chris Hemsworth was very funny. And that Thor could be a funny character. So with Thor Ragnarok, they bring in a comedy director. The film has 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then it has a $122 million opening weekend. That's way better than the other two Thor movies. And it made Thor a major player. It made Chris Hemsworth a major player. He hasn't had much success outside of Marvel. It brought the Hulk back. It made the Hulk and him buddies. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it, Cate Blanchett, Carl Urban. I mean, pretty crazy cast, really, when you think about it. But the main thing we got to take from this, and also the Doctor Strange cameo in this film, I think, is a better capturing of that character than the entirety of Doctor Strange. I never felt like he was Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange movie, but in this film, I thought that 5-minute Doctor Strange scene was exactly Doctor Strange from the comics. I thought they nailed it, and I was like, crap, I want Taika Waititi to do a Doctor Strange movie. So, you know, this The comedy in this movie gave my brain a seizure. Thanks, Disney. Yeah. And that's the thing. This film, like, lighthearted Thor. It was like a Saturday morning cartoon. It definitely took a lot from the Flash Gordon film from the 80s. But the reason I put this here is that this put Thor into a new place. This means Chris Hemsworth is going to be in several more movies as Thor. He's still young. I see Thor 4 happening, 5, him having a movie with the Guardians. It's a big moment in the Infinity War trailer where he goes, "Who the hell are you guys?" And it's the Guardians. Big moment. So this is major for Taika Waititi, who did the terrific What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People. In particular, What We Do in the Shadows is a terrific mockumentary. Very good film. So yeah, this is big for him because he's going to get to make some movies now. He even said he didn't really enjoy making this that much, and he's glad to go back to making like his own little small movies. He really wasn't that impressed with making a big studio movie, and I find that very fun. But still, 314 mil domestic. Yeah, sure, Spider-Man and Guardians made more than this, but you knew Guardians 2 was going to make a lot of money. You knew Spider-Man Homecoming should have made a lot of money. Thor Ragnarok, the third Thor movie being one of Marvel's most successful movies, is crazy. It being the biggest of the franchises, the third film, the best reviewed in the franchise, and in a lot of ways breathing new life into it. This is like a reboot, in a sense. And as a reboot, it's highly successful, and I think they're just going to make a dozen Thor movies, and I think it makes Thor... I think it's going to leave, because you have to think, when Robert Downey Jr. leaves and Chris Evans leaves, and they don't have Captain America anymore, and they don't have Iron Man anymore, they don't have their major players, they're going to have to rely on, like, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, Benedict Cumberbatch. They're going to have to rely on those guys to really carry it home, and I think Chris Hemsworth, as a comedic actor, has taken himself to a new place. Sure, 12 Strong still didn't do that great. The Huntsman sequel didn't do great, but the Thor movies? That guy could make a lot of those, and I think he will. So Thor Ragnarok is a very easy film, and plus the movie just made a lot of money. It's better reviewed than a lot of the other films I mentioned. It's probably the only other film that got reviews as good as it is Spider-Man Homecoming and Wonder Woman. And Disney clearly doesn't care about people with epilepsy. Sudden rapid bursts of cringe-tier jokes can easily cause seizures. I still don't think Waititi is a good fit for the live-action Akira movie, even if he says the version will be closer to the manga. Oh, I hope it's not closer to the manga. The manga to Akira sucks. I've never gotten why people say that's one of the best comics of all time. I love the movie. That manga is awful. Otomo wrote a terrible story. I was stunned, and I've read the whole thing, like all 2,500, I've read every single bit of Akira. It was years of, what was it years, but it was like for me finally to build up to do it. I was like, I'm going to sit down and read this whole book. I'm going to get through this. I was like, I can read Berserk, I can read this, but man, Akira, besides the artwork, which is great, the artwork to the book's great. What an overrated book, terribly written. It's that Donnie Darko thing. The questions that are left open in the movie make it better than the book. All the things that are interesting about the characters and the themes and the subtext going on are ruined in the book. Tetsuo and especially Kaneda. Kaneda's completely unlikable in the book. Oh my god, he's unlikable. And originally I was reading those Marvel those Marvel colored versions, but there was only like 6. And they didn't have the full, so I had to go find the black and white Akira books, and I was very disappointed. I was so pumped for that for years. Like, man, I can't wait to read that comic. That sounds like one of the greatest comics ever. And I would not recommend it. I would honestly say it's badly written. It's got bad dialogue and badly written. In fact, Akira's a badly written movie in a lot of ways, to be honest. It just gets by on astonishing animation and subtext. The subtext is brilliant and the animation's great. But the actual original manga, I think, is a disaster of ideas and things. And he's actually lucky that he didn't finish it when he made the movie. The movie's better because of it. What he had to change for how he ends the movie's the best way to end it. I hate... Good, even in the manga, Akira's in it a lot. The character, Akira, he's with Tetsuo quite a bit. I like the Akira manga, but the movie is more digestible, yet also more... It is more complex. The movie's more complex. It has more depth to it than the book that has thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. It's more... The 2-hour movie has more thematic depth than that whole book. That book is a lot of filler, a lot of action scenes, a lot of junk. The stuff with the pills is ridiculous. It's still kind of fun, It's like there's like a novelty to it, but you can get all that in the movie. And I'm not someone who's saying, oh, movies are better than comics. I love comics. Comics are my favorite thing in the world. Comic books, manga, yes, because a manga is just a comic. I love comics. That's a very overrated comic. It's not that good at all. I one day I might do a video on it breaking down how bad it really is. How just mean-spirited and poorly thought out its humanity is. But the movie, I think, is one of the great films. I think the original film is one of the greatest science fiction films, animated films of all time. I do not feel that way about the manga. I think the manga is just like trash. And I have a lot of friends who agree with me on that. A lot of my friends told me for years, they go, it's not that good. And I go, no, you're wrong. It's got to be good. And I was like, oh, you're right. It does suck. Isn't that good? People just kind of want it to be good, I think, because it's longer. They think, like Nausicaa, for instance. You read Miyazaki's Nausicaa manga. It's long. It's great. It's a great manga. Like, I think the manga for Nausicaa is way better than the movie. He had to condense a lot of it to a 2-hour movie. So you read the manga and you're like, wow, Nausicaa was an epic. The Akira manga, holy, everything he adds is a bad decision. I don't totally blame him. It's a difference between writing a long comic and making a movie. I just think Otomo's a better filmmaker than he is a comic book storyteller. Otomo was a very good filmmaker. I still think George Miller's the only one who can do a proper Akira remake. He would definitely be the top choice, that Road Warrior look. Do you think that there are any books or comics now that can still be deemed unfilmable? I don't think most. I think almost anything can be filmed today. That doesn't mean it could be made well. But I think that you can film most things today. I just don't think you can make it. That doesn't mean it'll be good. Sometimes when something's unfilmable, what they mean is that it's hard to make good. Doesn't mean you can't go out and film the movie. You could go out and film that movie, but to properly capture it would be very tough. A lot of stories like that. Like Akira. Akira really works for an animation, but to make a movie of that, it would cost a lot of money. Now, they could make that movie, but something might get lost in translation. Those really gory moments that look great in animation might be too gory in a live-action movie. Seeing those scenes might be too much. Hey, Pat, Nausicaa was apparently a huge influence on Final Fantasy. Well, I can definitely see that, for sure. All right, number 3, one of my favorites, man. I love talking about this. A lot of you guys have mentioned it. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. This is an easy pick for number 3, and I think you could make the argument for this film being number 1. I think this definitely could. Pat was recently called a stupid baby. I was. There was a whole rant about that. I have my comment of the week coming up later here soon. That was last week's comment of the week. Anyway, how can you not put this film... I definitely think you could make the argument that this is number 1. And I feel almost stupid not putting it at number 1. I mean, let's look at all the factors here. Jumanji, Joe Johnston film from the 90s. Makes $100 million domestic, $200 million or so worldwide, $65 million budget. Robin Williams vehicle. Did well. Not great, though. Based off a picture book. They never make a sequel. Years later, we have a Kevin Hart rock vehicle, Jack Black, Karen Gillan, and Nick Jonas is in it, and Bobby Cannavale, who's absolutely terrible in the movie. Speaking of which, we getting a comment? Yes, you are. You are getting the comment of the week. I wonder if the Akira remake will be set in America or set in China or Hong Kong to try and get the Chinese box office. I don't know. I actually think that's the major issue with doing an Akira remake, is that it being Japanese is fundamental to the subtext. It's about Japan post-nuclear war. I mean, it's about the bomb. I mean, it's literally about, like, Neo-Tokyo's after World War III. In Japan, it's like Godzilla. There's something lost in translation. Godzilla, what it represents thematically, what makes the original Godzilla so powerful, is that it's from Japan, and what Japan's saying about that, and how they deal with that. America, we can't comment it on the same way. I don't think we can. I think it's a different... I think the Japanese have that point of view. And Akira is one of the greatest representations, especially visually, of that point of view of Japan. And I think it does get lost. You can't put it in New York because there's never been a nuke dropped in America. There's never been a nuke like that. It's what they did with... that movie is so powerful is because it's looking at the past while it's also set in a future. And I think it does it at the same time. It's just great. Hand count. Who else thought Jumanji 2 looked like crap and was pleasantly surprised? Definitely me. I was shocked how good this movie was. Directed by Jake Kasdan of Freaks and Geeks fame. And Zero Effect. This is major. let's look at all the factors here. Like I said, Jumanji. All right, they make a sequel to this IP, much like It, and it comes out years later. This is 20-something years after like 22 years later from the original Jumanji. $90 million budget for this film. That's not a big budget. It's a pretty modest budget, especially when you consider that they had to pay The Rock and Jack Black and Kevin Hart. I mean, I'm sure they gave those guys pretty good paychecks. I think we can all agree on that. Akira needs to take place in Japan. I agree. I think that's the whole point. That's the thing, though. Like Hideko Anno, when he made the new Godzilla film, that took place in Japan. That's the thing. The subtext works for Japan. It doesn't work in the Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. It doesn't work. It has to be from a Japanese point of view. I think that's so important to those stories. I'm not saying all anime's that way. I think there's a lot of animes you could turn into an American movie and translate it just fine. I don't think that's one of them. Like Pokemon, they're doing the Pokemon movie, Detective Pikachu. Pokemon doesn't have to take place in Japan. Pokemon can take place wherever. Pokemon's universal. It's just kids catching monsters and fighting them. That makes sense. But Akira is about Japan. That's it's so much what it's about. So it doesn't make sense in any other way. That's what gives it power. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of annoying teenagers. Otherwise, it's just Blade Runner meets City of God or like Road Warrior. It's just George Miller with Ridley Scott slapped together. The thing that makes it unique is the Japan point of view. Is the Japanese point of view. That's the interesting aspect of the story. Stop yellow washing my films. Yeah, but still, $36 million opening weekend. Now, actually, this made $50 million opening weekend, which at that time we were like, wow, what a great performance. But did anyone see this film performing this well? I don't think anyone predicted this. Look at these numbers. $55 million, $50 million to $66 million, $37 million, $28 million, $19 million, $16 million, $10 million last weekend. $10 million last weekend. This weekend, 9.8. This movie only dropped $1 million in a week. 1 million. This is a juggernaut. It has surpassed the box office of Spider-Man Homecoming, Wonder Woman, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Thor Ragnarok. Domestically, this has outperformed all of those films except Wonder Woman. Well, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 made I think that made like $380 million or something like that, but still. This is insane. All of those films cost over $100 million. It's the only other one that has a lower budget. This is crazy box office. $881 million worldwide. $516 foreign. This is the biggest film of Jack Black's career. This is the biggest film of Kevin Hart's career. This is the biggest solo rock thing that isn't a Fast and Furious movie by far. In fact, this is a better domestic total than the Fast and the Furious. This is more money than Furious 7 made domestically. That's insane, this domestic total. This film is going to make maybe 309. This might make 400 million worldwide domestically. It's at 365 and it only dropped 10%. I mean, it's crazy. So Black Panther is apparently the endowed best movie of all time and has already labeled this will be the highest grossing superhero film. There's no way it's going to be the highest grossing superhero film. No way. 1.5 billion is what it would have to pass, and that ain't happening. I can tell you right now. Titan AE was a pleasant surprise. Yeah, I remember Titan AE. God, that has that song in it. Cosmic Castaway. Whoa, Cosmic. I have that on my iPod. Cosmic Castaway. Oh my god, I totally forgot about that. Don Bluth, man. Great. Cosmic Castaway. Whoa. The closest I get to anime... Yeah, I actually think most anime is bad, but there is a lot of good animes. There's a lot of good animes. But I would say 80% of it's terrible. But I would say most things are that way. But anime in particular, most of it's pretty bad. But there is gems. I mean, there's a lot of Cowboy Bebop type stuff. But yeah, most of it's pretty bad. It's just too much. It repeats itself. Too many animes are like other animes. You know, it's like a lot of things. People copy what other people do. And only a few things ever really stand out that feel original. But God, this is the reason this is number 3. This is a franchise, baby. They're making a sequel. Not only are they making a sequel, that sequel could make $1 billion. And then they get a third film, a fourth film, a fifth film. This film costs $90 million. If the next film only makes $600 million, it's still going to be huge. And I don't think this is a one and done. I think this is a franchise now. I mean, think about it. This is the most successful video game movie of all time. This is a video game movie. This is about people going inside a video game and playing it. and it's made $880 million. This is so many things. This is an IP returning. This is a video game movie. This is a vehicle for these actors. This is Jake Kasdan having a huge moment after being in the industry for years. Jake Kasdan's been around since the 90s. This is a huge moment for him. And just everything involved here, like for Kevin Hart, everyone. This just puts everyone this Jack Black needed this. This put Jack Black right back to the top. Every comedian wishes right now they were in this movie. Every single comedian out there's like, damn it, why didn't I take Jumanji 2? What the hell was wrong with me? Can Cowboy Bebop be realistically done? Of course it can. Easily. Cowboy Bebop could easily be a movie. It's not even realistically. It could easily be a movie. Cowboy Bebop, out of most animes, is so American influenced, Western influenced. It doesn't really do that much stuff that you couldn't do in a movie. A lot of it's stuff that we've seen in Star Wars or anything like that. I can't think of anything in Cowboy Bebop you couldn't film or edit or write, anything. Hey, what's up, Pat? You ever revisit Stanley Kubrick films? Yes, of course I do. I mean, I haven't done one in a while. Your Jumanji 3 pitch was amazing. I think that was the right idea. I would say that Kubrick film, what's the one more recently with Kubrick, I've been going back to some of his... It's funny, because I used to be like a lot of people. I'd watch Clockwork Orange a lot, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket. But I'm actually going back more to watching The Killing a lot more. And like Doctor Strangelove I would include in that era, the black and white era. But I'm actually going back to like watching The Killing, Paths of Glory, Lolita, more of 50s, early 60s work. I'm finding more attraction to that. In particular, The Killing has grown with me throughout the years, in Paths of Glory, which are films I always thought were great, but those ones I really go back to those a lot. And I don't watch Clockwork Orange as much as I used to, and I definitely don't watch Barry Lyndon as much as I used to. There's a lot of those films I used to watch. Full Metal Jacket I've seen so much. Eyes Wide Shut's one I always go back to. I like that movie more every time I watch it. Every time I watch Eyes Wide Shut, I like it more. When I first saw it, I was disappointed. I was pleasantly surprised it wasn't as bad as people had told me, but I was also a little disappointed. But every time I've watched Eyes Wide Shut, it just grows every time. I think it's an amazing film. You really get lost in that world. Bertolucci talks about this, and Scorsese. You get lost in that world. He really puts you in this nightmare. Like, you really feel like you're going on this journey with Tom Cruise, and you're inside this guy's head. Haunting film. Very powerful. And the ending, one of the greatest last lines. I'd even argue the best use of fuck in a movie ever is in Eyes Wide Shut, the last line. Kubrick's entire career was hinting at this in me. What his thesis is at the very end, what's the last line? What's the most important? As David Fincher has said, we're all perverts. The last line in a Kubrick film is a wife saying to her husband, the last goddamn line in a Stanley Kubrick film, in his last movie, is we need to go do something as quick as we can and go home and do it. And he goes, what's that? And she goes, fuck. And that's the last line. That is Kubrick's thesis. Watch all of Kubrick's films. It's always been about that. Always. He's an objective God looking at us, at our perversions, our flaws, everything about that. And at the end of the day, it's all just about fuck. Not giving a fuck. God, this is the most swearing box office Addict's ever had in a while. But that last line, fuck, man, it means a lot. Because it's even how she delivers it. It's not just the F word in one way. It's in multiple ways that it means. There's so much subtext to it. It's the most brilliant use of an F word in a movie. It's not the best sounding use of an F word. Of course, Goodfellas and movies like that dominated. But the most artistic use of an F word is the last scene of Eyes Wide Shut. Fact. Brilliant last scene from Kubrick. You can even hint that maybe the cult took their child. I've heard that theory. That's crazy if you think about it, that they took their kid. They kidnapped their kid at the end. Oh my god, and it's so creepy the end of the movie when they're at the store with their daughter. I am upset that film doesn't turn into more of a horror movie, though. Gonna get demonetized now, Pat. Well, hopefully they don't watch this far in and hear all those F-bombs. Imagine a biopic based on Kubrick. Would be so long, but so good if done right. The Exorcist 3 is very underrated. I agree with you. Who would be your choice of cast Cowboy Bebop movie along with Adam Driver? Yeah, because I already announced Adam Driver would be Spike Spiegel. I said that last week. And I don't know. Bruce Willis, I guess, would be obvious as Jet, but you could probably get someone else to play that role. Bruce Willis would be an obvious answer. My faves are Strangelove, Clockwork Orange, and 2001. Yeah, I love Clockwork Orange. I mean, that's one of my favorite movies ever, and Doctor Strangelove's great too. But yeah, that's how Kubrick stuff's been. And The Killing, though, I think The Killing is Reservoir Dogs. Actually, when I watched The Killing, I'm like, shit, Quentin Tarantino always talks about these other directors that influenced him. And I'm watching The Killing, and I'm like, this is just Reservoir Dogs. This is so... Like, he was... Like, what he does with that movie, I think nobody really gives him enough credit that Kubrick was really doing something that was very modern with that movie. Almost the same way Orson Welles was doing a lot of things that he took from other things that was doing a lot of... I feel like The Killing hasn't aged a day. I don't think it's aged a day since the 50s. Lolita's a little dated. I'd say Lolita's a little dated now. And, you know, Spartacus is half a Kubrick film at best, and he didn't really do much, but still a great movie. But Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, huge hit for everyone involved, $881 million. The biggest surprise hit of 2017, I would say. It is. I mean, what was a bigger surprise hit than this? And it's going to start a franchise that's going to be very fruitful for Sony, and that's why this is on here. This is not like Spider-Man Homecoming where Marvel helped them. This is all Sony. This is Sony, who had Baby Driver this year, and they needed more hits. This film kept Sony alive. This, in many ways, is the most important film. Because without this film, we could say, man, Sony's probably going to sell Spider-Man to Marvel, and they're probably going to stop making as many movies. And then this came out, and it's like, holy crap. This really put them into a new place, and this was the big win for Sony. They have one of the highest grossing films of the year. It passed all those Disney superhero films for the most part, so you have to give it credit where it's due. Sony pulled this one off. Great casting, great choice of director. Everything they did here, awesome. Have no, really, from a financial and honestly, it's a good movie. I think it's a very good, fun movie. How much does MoviePass affect box office numbers? I don't think at all, probably. Do you think Hideko Anno might have possibly been influenced? I have no doubt in my mind he was influenced by Stanley Kubrick. I think he has said as much, and you can see how he's influenced by Stanley Kubrick. Yes. That's the thing. Good point about Sony. Yeah, Sony needed this. This sold Sony, and they did this. This was their own doing. This movie is a great argument that Sony can be successful like Disney. They can be successful like Universal and start a franchise. This is their own franchise, and they took an old IP of Jumanji and made it bigger than it ever was. So Sony deserves the credit for this, with The Rock and Kevin Hart and all of that, Jack Black. But still, amazing. Great job. Great job from Sony. And that's why it's number 3. That's why I put it ahead of some of these other films. Because the other studios didn't need their hits as much as Sony did. Sony needed this to stay in the game. And not only are they still in the game, they have a player in the game now too. Number 2 and number 1. We're just going to do them together because they're the number 1 and number 2 highest grossing films of the year. Unfortunately, I didn't get creative too much with my number 1 and number 2. Waiting for Tarantino's 9th film now from Sony. That's right. I wonder if that'll even get made now with all the controversy. Hey, Pat, I saw that you were on, but I can't stay long. I have the flu and I have to rest. Man, everyone has the flu right now. It's freaking crazy, man. It's an epidemic of the flu. So, the number 1 and number 2, I'm going to flip them. They're going to flip here. My number 2 is Star Wars The Last Jedi. As much as I hate to put this on the list, because as everyone knows on the channel, I don't like this movie. I don't like Rian Johnson's work outside of Brick. I don't like Disney, what they've been doing with Star Wars. I pretty much hate everything that happened here, outside of very minute things. But this is a box office show. And as much as I would like to put this film lower on the list, I can't because of that beast domestic total. It made $616 million domestic. Now, the opening weekend was an overperformance. It didn't open as well as Force Awakens, which had a $247 million opening. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, of course this made a lot of money. It's Star Wars. I mean, like, you know, and Force Awakens made $2.1 billion. This made $700 million less. So why would you even put this on here? Like, this is an obvious choice. Well, just because if we're just going off profits, I guarantee you this film made Disney $500 million, if not more. That domestic total, they made, because Disney, from what I know, Disney, it took 65% of the ticket earnings for this movie. That was the deal they made with the theater. So they got 65% of that box office total. They got 65% of $616 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of damn money, people. Pat, you've mentioned that you like Trek. Can we get a video discussing your thoughts on it? Sure, we'll do some Trek videos. Maybe I'll do one with Blood Money, and we'll talk about Star Trek. $220 million opening weekend, though. That wasn't as good as Force Awakens, but a lot of people were predicting less than that, $200 million. The tracking was there. Still, Rian Johnson's film. Now, this isn't saying the future of the franchise is great. I'm arguing that Episode 9 is going to have a disappointing performance, Han Solo. But this being the third film in the Disney era of Star Wars, and it still made $1 billion, I'm sure it didn't make nearly as much as the other films. And this even didn't make as much as Age of Ultron did worldwide. That foreign total is very disappointing, $706 million. I wouldn't have included this on the list if we were just going off the foreign total. I mean, that's really not that impressive. $700 million for... Because the last film made $1 billion internationally. Well, the Force Awakens did. So this isn't really that great of a performance, but a $220 million opening weekend, a $616 million domestic total. I'm just putting this one up here because of the profits, the merchandising, even though they didn't, the merchandising isn't killing. And not just that there is going to be Episode 9. It's definitely going to make $1 billion. And because, they were able to get Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, everyone back. And, this definitely was a huge drop. And there's many ways you could argue that this film doesn't deserve to be at number 2 or number 1. But I'm cheating a little bit here. I kind of didn't obey the rules the first, 8. But the last 2, I'm just saying, because this film made so much money, Disney's so dominant. They have Marvel. They have Star Wars. And they have so many things, honestly. They have so many hits, but we'll get to that later. So this being the animated films, nobody makes animated films that make the money Disney makes. Nobody. But this film... making a $1,322 million. It's just another successful Disney film. And you have to give it to them because they're the studio that makes the most money right now. They own Fox now. They're going to continue to make money. And this film, despite it being a massive disappointment to a lot of people, a lot of mixed points of view on this, a lot of arguments amongst Star Wars fans, and even a disappointing worldwide total about what a lot of us said. It didn't overperform in that sense. Still... this movie made more domestically than most of the films on here made worldwide. I mean, it made more domestically. It made $700 million worldwide, and this film almost made that domestically. So you have to just... That's a beast. This is one of the greatest domestic performances of all time. It's in the top. It didn't do as well. It's $300 million less than Force Awakens, which is a lot. A lot less. But, what are you going to say? $1.3 billion. So, my argument here is just profits, Disney... This continued their dominance, and it solidified it, and once again, which they keep doing consistently. So the reason this is on here is just because this is Disney, showing how big its dick is. And, you can't do anything about that. That's why we're going to our number 1, Beauty and the Beast. Now, I hate picking this film as number 1. I hate a movie with Emma Watson, a Disney remake. Well, not even a remake, honestly, because this story's existed forever. This is old as hell. It's an old story. But still, a remake of their animated film, because it has the songs in it, and the songs were original. The music was original in that sense, so we'll say that. The story's not original, but it's Disney, so what is? The reason this is number 1 is because I think every argument that I could make for The Last Jedi... Pat, would Solo avoid fan backlash if it were animated? I think it would be an interesting idea if they did that. That's an interesting idea. I kind of like what you're saying. The reason Beauty and the Beast is number 1... Alright, let me explain this. I said that they have Marvel. We know Marvel's successful. We know Disney's going to have Marvel for another decade. We know Star Wars is going to make money. They started doing these Disney live-action remakes of their animated films, alright? And they started off a few years ago, and they made money. Cinderella made money. It made $543 million worldwide. That was a good performance. And it cost $95 million. Kenneth Branagh, once again. The Jungle Book, Jon Favreau, $366 million domestic or something like that, $965 million worldwide. Huge hit. That film cost $175 million. It almost made $1 billion. Now Favreau's doing The Lion King. Beauty and the Beast is number 1 because Disney now has animated films. Disney now has... Emma Watson is still yes, she is because of this movie, even though I think they could have cast anyone in this role. I don't think she's the reason this movie made money. Solo could be a disaster. I agree. We'll have to wait and see on that, though. We don't know. I thought Rogue One was going to be a disaster, so who knows? Maybe they'll salvage it. This film cost $160 million, and now Disney has Marvel. They have Star Wars. They have all these franchises that are making money. They have their animated films. Frozen's the highest grossing animated film of all time. Before that, it was Toy Story 3. Before that, it was Shrek. But then before that, it was The Lion King. The Lion King's still the biggest 2D animated film of all time. So here's why this is number one. Because this is the future of Disney. This is the future of the box office. All movies that are going to be released over the next decade are going to be superhero films. They're going to be Star Wars types films, and they're going to be remakes of Disney movies. They're making Aladdin with Guy Ritchie. They're making The Lion King. They're going to do all of them. They're doing The Little Mermaid. This film made as much money as Last Jedi, just about. It made $1,263,000,000. Last Jedi made $706 million foreign. Beauty and the Beast made $759 million. Last Jedi made $616 million. Beauty and the Beast made $504 million. Not only do I think this film is going to make more profit than The Last Jedi, which it should just based off its budget, which is much lower, and overall its performance, and that maybe not domestically, it might even out about the same. This was the laziest Disney remake, though. I'm not talking about the quality. This film sucks. You're not going to give me... I don't like this film at all. But it made this money, and it was huge. Audiences love this film. It had a $174 million opening weekend. Not only was that big, that was massive. And you can't deny it. And I think this is going to be one of the most profitable films of the year. I don't think it'll be the most profitable. I think it'll be one of the most profitable. I think it'll be the Lion King will make even more money, and I think that that Little Mermaid. I don't think Little Mermaid will reach this, but Lion King could make $1.5 billion. This is Beauty and the Beast. Think how loved Beauty and the Beast is, and how much money this made. Think about Lion King. Lion King made $1 billion in the '90s, and Donald Glover, Beyonce, Jon Favreau. Lion King's going to be a massive hit. So this movie is number one because this is the Disney thing. Maybe you could do a video about the convoluted mystery box files mess that's the plot of Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, maybe. So the only reason I put this at number one is that it's Disney. They deserve number one because they're the biggest studio. I mean, if you look at my top 10 list, we have Guardians, Thor 3, Last Jedi, and Beauty and the Beast. Those are all Disney movies. And they even had something to do with Spider-Man being successful. So Disney is everywhere. Not just that, Beauty and the Beast made as much money as Star Wars did, which is crazy. It's on par with Last Jedi. There's not that big of a difference between them. Domestically, yes, but worldwide, not really. It cost a lot less. I mean, it doesn't have... The only big name really is Emma Watson, Kevin Kline, but they're not like... You know, it's not like, hey, this is Luke Skywalker. Dan Stevens, who I love from Downton Abbey, The Guest... you know, he's not a name. They tried to get Ryan Gosling for this role. Think about it. Ryan Gosling would have been in this movie that made $1 billion. So, it's just the fact that this overperformed. This went above anyone's expectations. And this is the future of Disney. It'll be superhero movies, like I said, space operas, Star Wars spin-offs, and live-action remakes of animated films. And they're going to do all of them. And they're all going to do well. They're all going to make money. And they keep making more and more money with each one, and Lion King will probably be the peak of that, and I could see Lion King making $1.5 billion, if not more. Lion King might even make $2 billion. I'm that crazy to think it's possible. A live-action Lion King? And Lion King is going to be marketed with the casting... Exactly. I like world-class bullshitters. They seem like fun guys. So yeah, $1,263,000,000. So number one, Disney... big film, lots of profit, and the way that this is going to kick off all of the live action films for Disney. All right, so let's get to the honorable mentions, and this will feature a lot of the movies that you guys that you guys threw out there that I wasn't able to fit on the list. And this is not because any of these films didn't make a lot of money. These films are all films that I think made money. Hey man, just found your channel, been binging ever since. Thanks. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, let's get through the honorable mentions real quick. These are films I would have loved to have put on the top 10 personally, but I think I just had to, even though they're great performances, there's some of these I would have put on here. All right, so let's knock them out. Get Out from Jordan Peele, a film that cost $4.5 million and made $208 and 55 million worldwide. Now, this film probably should have cracked the top 10. I definitely think it's number 11 if I was going to put it on the list. This film's been nominated for Best Picture, Director, Screenplay. It has 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's one of the most successful debut films ever. The budget was nothing. Blumhouse produced this, and it made a $33 million on opening weekend, $176 million domestic, and $255 million worldwide. This is a huge moneymaker. They said the profits on this were crazy. To me, this is M. Night Shyamalan. Jordan Peele's M. Night Shyamalan. This is his Sixth Sense moment. This film put him up to a new place. He's just blown up from here. I mean, when you have a movie do this well, and then it was able to carry all the way over to the Oscars, so... And I like this movie well enough. I think it's all right. I don't think it's as great as everyone else does, but I think it's an okay movie. I don't also think it's bad like some people do, too. This is a well-directed film that has some good acting and scenes in it. I just don't think it all works. And it's his first movie. I just think it got a little overpraised. But still, having said all that, great performance. Easily should have been in the top 10, probably. Very profitable film, so definitely going to throw that in there. Next honorable mention, Logan. James Mangold. Very critically acclaimed. Nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. First comic book film to ever be nominated for a screenplay nomination. $88 million. First superhero film. I do think The History of Violence might have been nominated for a screen. I don't remember. I think it might have been nominated, and that was based off a graphic novel. $97 million budget. This from James Mangold, who did The Wolverine with Hugh Jackman previously, which really didn't do that well domestically, $132 million. But this was coming off the Deadpool hype. Deadpool, which had a $58 million budget, made $763 million worldwide. This film is the best reviewed X-Men film, right there with like Days of Future Past. It's Hugh Jackman's most successful solo outing. It's one of the highest grossing X-Men films, and it all has that great budget, $97 million. So an $88 million opening weekend. This film was already close to making its money back. This is honestly one of my favorite movies of the year, too. This would probably be in my top 10, top 15. I think this is one of the best. I don't like the third act, but I think the first two acts of this movie are astonishing. Especially the first act. This movie has like the best first act of 2017. Amazing first act. And in a lot of ways, it's James Mangold's best movie, this and 3:10 to Yuma. So yeah, this was huge for him because the Wolverine, this bounced back. This is huge for Hugh Jackman, who was a producer. He and everything about the Simon Kinberg, Fox making R-rated superhero films. With Deadpool and then this, then both very successful and not having big budgets. This lower budget thing too. Maybe you don't need to spend $200 million to make a superhero movie. So it made $616 million on a $97 million budget. No way this didn't make a lot of profit. It's got critical acclaim, and it's highly successful. So yeah, Logan's an easy honorable mention. Easily could have been in the top 10. All right, the next one on my honorable mentions. I heard some of you name it. I would have loved to put this in the top 10. Dunkirk from Christopher Nolan, nominated for 8 Academy Awards. $100 million budget. Now, the reports were that it cost $150 million, but after a tax rebate, Nolan was able to get it down to $100 million. So this film made $188 million domestic, which is the same that Interstellar did, which had about the same opening weekend. Now, yeah, sure, this didn't make as much as Dark Knight Rises, Inception, all that, but it didn't need to. It really didn't need to. This is Christopher Nolan's best reviewed film. It's the first time he's ever been nominated for Best Director. It's considered by many to be one of the best films of the year. Nobody knew how it was going to perform. This is the most successful World War II film of all time. Now, Saving Private Ryan did make more money adjusted for ticket price inflation, and honestly, they're pretty close. But honestly, still, if you're just going off numbers without adjustment, this is the most successful World War II film ever made. Financially, and it made $525 million. It ended up making, it cost less than those movies too, though. It didn't cost as much as Inception and Interstellar and all that. It also showed that Nolan is one of the biggest names in movies, and he can open a movie on his name. He does not need to rely on big actors and all that. He can just sell the film on Chris Nolan and these titles like Dunkirk or Interstellar or The Prestige, Insomnia. This was really a comeback for him. I think a lot of people turned on him after Dark Knight Returns and Interstellar in particular. But he made this is his best reviewed film. He got the noms he always wanted. And this film was a huge, huge hit. It made so much money. There's no doubt they made a lot of profit off of this. What would the plot of James Mangold's Helm Cowboy Bebop movie be? I think that you should mainly focus on the first episode of the show, and that could be a movie in itself. And then kind of slowly introduce the characters saying that near the end. I wouldn't jump the gun on the first movie. I think the first movie should be more establishing Spike Spiegel, and then in the sequels you start fleshing out. You can do Jupiter Jazz Part 1 and 2. Yeah, Dunkirk's in my top 5. You know, it's one of my favorite movies of the year. I do think it's probably Nolan's best directing effort. It's probably not my favorite Nolan film, but I think it's his best work as a filmmaker overall. Anyway, this film should win some technical Oscars. Great opening weekend, once again for Christopher Nolan. And Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Kenneth Branagh, Mark Rylance, great. Harry Styles, beast of a domestic performance. Some people thought this would make, like, even more. But honestly, this was his Revenant. This did Revenant numbers. And I said that when it opened, and good for that. Kong Skull Island, $566 million. On a $185 million budget. Now, this film didn't do that great domestically, but it had a surprisingly good opening weekend, and this film was made to set up the Kong versus Godzilla movie that I think Adam Wingard's doing now. So that was a setup, and the Godzilla movie made $500 million worldwide or something like that, and this film made $566 million worldwide. So it was, they didn't make too much profit, but this could have been a bomb. I think this film did overperform. And overall, it was successful, I believe. I think it did well enough. And for Warner Brothers, that's another successful movie. All right, next one on the list, Coco, which honestly probably should have been in the top 10. The only reason I didn't put it in there is because of its domestic performance. Coco cost about $220 million to make, and it made $206 million domestic and $50 million opening. But that worldwide total of $714 million, mwah, wonderful. No doubt this movie made a lot of profit, and it's easily going to win Best Animated Film, and most likely Best Song. Alright, the next film on my list is Your Name from Japan. The only reason I didn't put this in the top 10 is because it didn't really make anything domestically, $5 million. And this film, I believe, was released in Japan in 2016? I don't know if it was actually released in Japan in 2017. This also might be why this film's not on my top 10 list when I do my top 10 list, even though I adore this movie. I think this is a wonderful movie. I have a review of this movie up on my channel. Great movie. But, let me see what... Hold on, sorry, real quick. I wonder how much of an influence Bane posting had on spreading Nolan's... I mean, it didn't hurt. Nolan creating one of the most popular memes of all time didn't hurt his career. It really didn't. I would definitely put Your Name on the top 10 if it wasn't all domestic for the most part, but it made almost all of that in Japan. It's the most successful anime of all time. It made more money than Spirited Away, Miyazaki's masterpiece. This is a great movie from a great director. Highly recommend it. It would be on my top 10 list, but I feel like it'd be cheating a little bit, even though it did get released here in 2017, so technically it counts. It only made $5 million here, unfortunately. Critically acclaimed movie, too, and on IMDb's top 250. Highly recommend if you haven't seen this film, but it made $357 million worldwide. Definitely has to be mentioned. The Greatest Showman, Hugh Jackman. The reason I'm bringing this film up, The Multiplier. I wish this film made more profit, but yeah, $84 million budget. It had an $8 million opening weekend. That was a terrible opening weekend. Then it's had one of the greatest multipliers in recent movie history. It's insane. I mean, look at this. 9 million, 7 million, 6 million, 10, 12, 13, 15. I mean, it's crazy. The movie made more on its second weekend than it did on its opening weekend. That rarely happens. Even during the holidays, this is crazy. And the film went past the holidays. This film's going to surpass the domestic total of La La Land and other recent musicals. This is the most successful music. And Les Miserables. This is going to make more than Les Miserables, which starred Hugh Jackman, and La La Land, which the songs were written by the composers of La La Land, who wrote the music for that. So I mainly put this on here because of how well this movie's held. This movie hasn't had a steep drop since it came out. It's still holding well. This film will probably make $160 million domestic, if not more. I personally found Kong Skull Island to be meh, and I'm sure Adam Wingard will do a poor job with Godzilla vs. Kong. Agreed. Thoughts on the supposed Hollywood live-action version of Your Name going to... I think that's a genius idea. You know what I thought when Your Name was over? Your Name? I thought, wow, this should be a movie. It's one of those animes like how Miyazaki does, where it's so well animated and not that epic, in the sense that you could totally see it as a live... In fact, when I was watching Your Name, I kind of forgot it was an animated movie. It's got such detail in the locations. I think it's tailor-made to be a blockbuster. The only reason Your Name wasn't a major hit in America was because it was an anime. That's it. if once they make that movie an actual movie, everyone's gonna, because the plot, I won't spoil it, but the plot reveal of that movie, the plot twist about halfway in, is a more clever plot twist than anything Christopher Nolan or J.J. Abrams has come up with. And I'm sure J.J. Abrams felt that way, and that's why he bought the movie rights. I would have too. I mean, I thought the same thing when I saw the movie. I go, crap, they got to do an American remake of this. This is a hit movie. It's such a great story. And you could totally seeing it being a movie that could, I mean, it's the kind of movie that could make 300 mil domestic in America just like it did in Japan. Because we have this bias here towards anime that the Japanese don't have. But once you make a live action version with that story, a body switch movie that ends up having more to say and it becomes this beautiful romance and now it reveals things, especially if they make it a little longer and flesh things out more, I think making a Your Name movie is literally a genius idea. I don't mean that in any joking way. I think it makes total sense. I think it'll make a lot of money, and I think it could, even be a very popular movie, a liked movie. Because a lot of people aren't going to watch that film just because it's an anime and it has a great story. It's very well put together. Just like Miyazaki's stuff, but always his stuff I can't always see getting adapted. I think you could do a Kiki's Delivery Service or a Nausicaa movie if you wanted to. I don't necessarily think you could do everything he made, but Your Name is like, it feels like a blockbuster that hasn't been made yet. $314 million worldwide on that budget. Now, this film's going to make a profit, no doubt. But it's not going to make as much profit as everything else. That's why I didn't make the top 10. But the most impressive multiplier of 2017 is that movie, no question. Split from M. Night Shyamalan, another Blumhouse film. Now, this definitely needs to be brought up, just because Split brought back M. Night Shyamalan, which was already making his comeback somewhat with this previous film, that The Visit, which made 65 mil domestic and 98 mil worldwide on a $5 million budget. But then Split was just an immediate hit. $9 million budget. I give a lot of credit to the marketing. Great marketing on this movie. $40 million opening weekend, 138 mil domestic, 278 million worldwide. This is also setting up Glass, the sequel, that will connect the Unbreakable franchise, which is the plot twist at the end of Split. So we're getting Glass from Blumhouse. That'll be their biggest movie by far, like a budget standpoint. And M. Night Shyamalan's back. This is his best reviewed movie and most popular movie in years. And it features one of the, honestly, maybe the best performance in any of his movies, right? There's a terrific performance from James McAvoy. And a new character. It's going to become iconic. I think Glass will be huge. So this one definitely needs to be mentioned. It was the first real big hit in the year. Came out in January and did really, really well. And then, of course, we have to mention Wolf Warrior 2 from China. And once again, that only didn't get mentioned on the top 10 because it's a domestic release. That made all of its money in China, that $867 million. So that's the reason it's not on here, too. I think you have to have a mix of international and domestic for me to really be impressed. But that's still an amazing performance. Holy crap. That's an insane domestic performance. And if I was Hollywood, I would be scared of that. That's a terrific number. All right, people, that's it. That's the top 10. We did it. We got through. I would like to see Cowboy Bebop movie just that I can have an excuse to see a Corgi on the big screen. Hey, man, Corgi's my favorite breed of dog, too. I love Corgis. Corgis are adorable. All right, let's do a quick speed round of the top movies real quick, the new releases. 1517 to Paris from Clint Eastwood. $12.6 million opening weekend. That's got a $30 million budget. Pretty conservative budget. Oh, Judy Greer and Jenna Fisher, two crushes. All right. 30 million though, 94. Has the guys who were actually involved in it. Now, this isn't doing as well as a lot of other Clint Eastwood movies. Sully was a hit. American Sniper was his biggest movie. But, you look at Jersey Boys, J. Edgar. Clint Eastwood's off and on. So this isn't a great opening weekend, but it's not terrible. But I don't see it doing that great. It'll probably hold pretty well. Peter Rabbit starring the awful James Corden, directed by Will Gluck. What did he do? I know that name. Oh, that's right. Annie. Friends with Benefits, Easy A. Yes. You fired up, yes. $25 million opening weekend, $50 million budget, not including marketing. I'm sure this film will make a little bit of a profit. That's not a great opening weekend. They probably would have wanted something more around $40 million if they wanted a really big opening, but that's a good opening. That's a solid opening. So we'll just have to see where that goes. 50 Shades Freed, the third in the trilogy. $38 million opening weekend on a $55 million budget. 136. Well, James Foley, man, he made this. Glengarry Glen Ross. Wow, I forgot he made the last two. Man, talk about a guy's career didn't really work out. Like, At Close Range is this terrific thriller from the 80s. And then his other films aren't that great. Fear's a guilty pleasure that's amazing. If you ever want to watch a movie that's hilarious, watch Fear. Mark Wahlberg's performance in that is one of the single funniest things I've ever seen. James Foley, though, directed Glengarry Glen Ross, one of the greatest David Mamet adaptations. And one of the great scripts, and he did a great job directing it. All of his choices were very good. But yeah, his career didn't really pan out. But hey, at least he's got the 50 Shades franchise. The previous film, the second film, made $381 million. It seems like this film should be on par with that. It's got the same budget. What was the opening weekend of 50 Shades Darker? $46 million. So this is a dip, and it's certainly not the $85 million of the original film, but it's not bad either. Director James Mangold apparently despises after-credit scenes and Easter eggs. I mean, I guess. I don't think it really matters, because if you don't want to watch them, you can just walk out of the theater. You don't have to stay for an after-credit sequence. You really don't. All right, that's it for those weeks. All right, let's do the comment of the week. The comment of the week comes from Astonishing Red, who commented on my Snoke video. I wonder just how many people paused the video after said he was actually expecting Rey to die in the throne room. After looking at the comments, I do see a few pointed out how ridiculous of an idea that is. Come on, man. We all know the movie wasn't that great, but at least have reasonable expectations. All right. Now, this is unfortunately one of those things where somebody missed the point in the video, which I'm not trying to attack them for it. I understand. That moment where I say that he's going to kill Rey is a completely exaggerated comedic moment in the video. I'm acting out a scenario where I'm sitting in the theater thinking Rian Johnson's going to do that. When I say that, I mean that in the sense that that would have been the right thing to do, is to kill Rey. That would have been the cool thing to do. I didn't literally think he was going to kill Rey. That's not what I thought. It was that I thought... it's hard to explain. The joke of the video is when I get in this exaggerated place where I go, okay, I'm in the theater. I'm sitting there. Kylo turns on the lightsaber. He's gonna kill Rey. This is his Game of Thrones moment. And that's all a joke. It's not really a joke. It's just me kind of mocking that isn't how the scene works out. It's to set up the payoff. And I'm like, wait, and Snoke dies? What the hell? That's not my actual experience. When I was sitting there, I was already out of the movie. And I was like, yeah, Rian Johnson's... I'd already given up hope by that scene. But this is just misinterpretation. But the reason I point this comment out... it's just that it's funny when someone says that. They're like, man, I looked through the comments and some people pointed out how ridiculous of an idea that is. I love that it's a ridiculous idea to do something that would have been groundbreaking and would have only helped the movie financially. Do you think killing Rey would have hurt this movie? How? It's already made $700 million less than the previous film. It would have not hurt the box office one iota if they killed Rey off. It would have been huge for it, actually. And reasonable expectations, I don't think that's that unreasonable to think that they might kill off the lead character in a plot twist. We've seen it before. It's not that crazy, I don't think. I mean, I don't think Disney would do it. I agree with you. But once again, that wasn't what I was saying. The video's played up very comedically. When I wrote the script for that video, that was one part that was supposed to be very much a joke. Where I'm like, this is his Game of Thrones moment. Because I felt like he was trying to do George Martin and he failed. So, to the commenter... The reason your comment got pulled out is that you kind of missed the sarcasm, which is very well delivered in my opinion. And the reason that a lot of people aren't pausing and commenting on that point is that I think they did get it, and you didn't get it. So you trying this whole correction, reasonable expectations thing comes off a little bit cringe. Just because, you know, you're looking for validation from other people. Like, well, at least some people pointed out that that's ridiculous. Well, that wasn't... It's just... It went over your head. And I'm not saying, you could say that I didn't make it clear, which is fine, that's cool. But, you know, it did go over your head. That's all I'm going to say. The point was more that Rian Johnson didn't make a good decision. And I was pointing out something that would have been a more interesting original decision. It wasn't that I was actually saying... In fact, I go from speaking in my normal review voice to getting to this exaggerated... It happened the other day, somebody left a comment when I made a joke. They said to me, are you joking at this point? With the Rose video, where I said Rose being a hacker, I said, is that too progressive for you, Disney? And then the person said, why would you say that? Disney's progressive as hell. They're SJW. Why did you say that? I'm like, that was the joke. It's sarcasm. I'm making fun of the fact that they're so progressive. I'm not actually saying that literally. But that just... same thing happened on the Andy Signor video. Yeah, no, they don't. Sarcasm just goes completely... over people's heads sometimes. Yeah, honestly, killing Rey would have been one of the single smartest, greatest decisions in recent... Let me go find the part in the video.
So what's the deal?
Oh my god, this is the most indulgent thing ever. I'm watching my own video on a live stream. Can you get more indulgent than that? I mean, I'm just basically just masturbating on the screen right now. Let me see. Where is that moment? I have no idea.
This is the Ned Stark moment.
Oh, here we go.
I'm so excited. I'm in the theater, and then the lightsaber turns on, and Snoke dies. Smart to a cartoon character. I'm in the theater, and then the lightsaber turns on, and Snoke. Setup of Kylo tricking Snoke and killing him with Rey's lightsaber. It's just a trick. Another way to subvert my expectations. To shock me.
Obvious sarcasm right there.
And do something new. Snoke goes from smart to a cartoon character? No, that's not going to happen. This can't be how he dies. Rian Johnson's too clever for this.
Obvious sarcasm.
He's going to kill Rey right now. This will be his Game of Thrones moment to
obvious sarcasm.
Retire on. This is the Ned Stark moment.
Yeah, so that guy took that entire bit there literally. And if you listen to everything I said before that, everything I said before that is like, Rian Johnson wouldn't do this. He's trying to subvert my expectations brilliantly. Like, I'm clearly making fun of Rian Johnson. So the comment of the week is basically just to point out that people aren't getting a lot of sarcasm in my videos, which they don't have to, but it's upsetting. Because I think my videos are pretty obviously sarcastic half the time, and people write in the comments and they're like, I don't know if you're being sarcastic here. And I'm like, if you think I'm being sarcastic 98% of the time, the person's being sarcastic. That's just kind of how it is. All right, now, in honor of this being such a big occasion that we are... You know, that we're definitely... God, what is this? I mean, this is crazy. We're talking about this 30 episodes that we've made it here. Let's see. Let's go to the videos real quick. All right, I'm going to give you guys a little special treat. We are going to go back to the past here to wrap this show up. We're going to go way back to the past. Way back. In the early days of this channel. Before everything else. And I know this episode went way longer than I wanted it to, and I'm upset about that. But, oh, hold on. We have to go way back. Sorry about that. I'm still going back, people. This is for a reason. I hope all of you that have been fans can be patient with me here at this last moment. Holy crap, we're going way back. All these videos, man. We're going way back in the day. I have to go back to just the oldest freaking videos. Oh my god. Is it here? Where's the first one? We're going way back. Oh my goodness, it's even further back than that. Jesus Christ. So if you guys don't remember in my early videos... You should have reasonable expectations of YouTube commenters. That's a good point, my friend. That's a good point. God, we have to... Here it is. Here it is. This should be the one. Okay, back when I first started the patriarchy, it used to just be me talking to a camera with a mask on. And if you go back, the first box office addict, it's I don't think it's this one, because this is from September 4th of 2016. 38 views, 2 likes. I think I did it before that. Yes, here it is. Pat's Weekend Box Office Report. This is the official first episode of Box Office Addict. Before I did it as a live stream.
Hey guys, all hail the patriarchy. I'm back. Your good old buddy, Pat. You know, in fact, just call me Pat in the comments if you want to abbreviate my name. Patriarchy Jones, McJackson, McChicken, Niggle, 427 Blitz, God tier. Sorry, that was a really terrible joke. I just don't know how to start this video because it's a little different. This is about the weekend box office. I'm going to start this new series because I got a lot of popularity and hits and subscribers from that Ghostbuster shit, which thank you to everyone who supported those videos where I just talk crap about Sony and the Ghostbusters the reboot, and Paul Feig. So the thing about that is that I really broke down the box office of that film, and grosses and how much profit they made and what they look at to make returns, and what they put into marketing and all that. This is stuff I actually spend a lot of my time doing, is reading a lot of articles about budgets and film economics. And I mean, I could probably be an accountant for a fucking studio. How much I read this shit. I'm just gonna go over this weekend's box office. We're gonna look at the top films of the weekend. I'm going to talk about my opinion on them, how they're doing, and that's going to be about it. And if you like it, Well, I'll keep doing them. This is my first time to look at this box office lineup. It's Sunday, August 28th. So if you didn't see any movies this weekend, you'll find out what did well.
I just love the concept that I tried to do a box office report as the patriarchy. What the hell was I thinking? What the voice? Well, it doesn't sound. You realize I'm wearing a mask when I'm talking. That's why my voice sounds different. That's because you're hearing me through a mask, and you're not hearing me. Well, the original thing was here's how the patriarchy started. I hated Ghostbusters 2016. I hated it, and I had a Halloween mask in my house. And I put the Halloween mask on, and the joke is that I was the patriarchy, and they kept blaming me for the movie bombing, and I wanted to argue for myself how I didn't make the movie bomb. They bombed. And the original video was just me sitting in a couch with like black and white with the mask on, and I'm like, I'm the patriarchy, and they're blaming me for their movie bombing, but it's because it sucked. Well, that video did really well, and a lot of people really liked how I broke down the box office. So for some reason, conceptually, I thought that I could be the patriarchy doing. So I only did this about 3 times, and then I never did it again because, as you can see, nobody watched it. But then as time went on, and I became a movie channel, it became Box Office Addict. But this is the origin of it. This is the official first episode. The first episode of this run is the Dunkirk one, the 1 to 30. This is like the proto Box Office Addict. This is where it all began, because this was a guy I loved Box Office on Sundays, and this was the first time I ever had the idea that maybe I should record myself covering the box office.
Or if you did see these movies, you'll be happy
God,
that
15 minutes,
some of them
Jesus.
are making money. So let's get right into it. Okay.
No chat really
this
does
is
shorten
the
it.
weekend box office. If you want to look with me, it's on boxofficemojo.com. That's where I go to check the weekend box office on Sunday. Now, I usually know the box office numbers early. If you
Look at
go
those
on
shoulders,
Fridays or Thursday evening, even to deadlinehollywood.com or just Deadline, they get very early reports of the box office. Or you can go to boxoffice.com. Comingsoon.net. There's all sorts of forums too where people have theories and break down the box office. So usually on a Friday you can guess what the Sunday numbers are going to be, and these numbers aren't too far off from what any might weekend. That's a 37% drop, which isn't bad. The problem is the film's only at 24 million domestically, and the budget is 60 million.
God, that sounds familiar to Box Office Addict.
And so far it's made 27 million worldwide. It probably hasn't been released in a lot of markets yet. Still, I do not see this making its budget back domestically. I'm not going to call it a bomb because I don't know what the foreign box office is going to be, but this isn't that good. I think they would probably be hoping this would do more Paranorman business, and it's not. It's definitely great release, great market for the 2016 box office. We're getting to the end of summer here, but what do you guys think? Are you happy Don't Breathe came in with such good numbers? You think it's going to hold or it's going to drop? I think it's going to hold well, really. But what do you think? And if you guys like this video, tell me, and I'll keep making more of these on the weekend. But that's the weekend box office, and I'm the Patriarchy, and we'll see you guys next week.
I was a little bit. I'm probably a little bit bigger now than I was then. But at that point, I think I weighed like 170 pounds, and I was pretty lean. Like, that's when the abs started to kind of show up at that point. But yeah, I was pretty lean. That's why I worked out a lot back then. But yeah, I'm a lot bigger in person than I think people think. I think a lot of people think I'm this like real skinny guy, which I understand why you would think that. The avatar looks that way, and you know, I kind of talk. I have a high voice, so people I think, but they don't realize like I'm not that small. I'm kind of a workout guy. I like exercising. I like eating healthy, and you should all too. It shouldn't just be me. But I thought that'd be a little treat for you guys. Did you guys like that? Did you like Box Office Addict #1? I thought that would be fun. So best of 2017, and we went back to the origins of Box Office Addict. We went back to the very first episode, the official first episode, and I thought, what a perfect way. We got to go back to the beginning to talk about the future, because this has been 30 episodes, people, and it's been 30 episodes weekly, and a lot of you have been here for almost every single one of them. Think about how magical that is. 5'9". But yeah, 5'9". I was gonna say, am I taller than that? No, I'm about that. I was gonna say I might be 5'9" and like a half, but not really. I'd say like a little bit more than that, but yeah, around there. And right now I weigh 173, but back then I weighed like 175 to 180. But I've been having a hard time. I think my max weight was like 183 when I was really lifting heavy. That's back when I was like deadlifting and squatting. You know, I was like deadlifting 350 and squatting like 200 pounds and stuff like that. That's when I was like getting like, whoa, man, if I get to 200 pounds, I'm gonna be jacked. But then I was like, shit, you have to eat so much though. That's why I stopped doing it, man. When you start working out heavy, you have to eat like 6-7 meals a day. And I'm talking like big meals because you need the protein and stuff. You need the carbs. I mean, you have to. I mean, like for me, I had to get 180 grams of protein every day. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you actually have to like cook the food and eat it, that's a lot of work. You have to make like 5 meals every day and eat them, and then make your meals for the next day and eat them, and make your meals for the next day and make them. And it gets really annoying. It gets very painful. It's just yeah, I got too busy. Could you try a Zack Schneider impression? I don't really know how to do an impression of Zack. I can't even think of what his voice sounds like, to be honestly. Are you 5'8"? That's cool, man. I think that's about average. 5'8", 5'9", or something in America. I'm not sure. I used to hear it was that. I don't know. It might be 5'10". Might be 5'11". I don't know what the average height is. I'm not short. Sorry if that disappoints some of you. It's as Razor Fist famously said, it's not a little man syndrome. It's just ego. I know some are like, oh, he's got an ego. He must be like 5'3" or something. But no, sorry. I wish I was short just to give you guys that. I would love to give you guys that. I would love to be like 5'5" or something like that. But anyway, 30 episodes, people. What can we say? We've been on a journey. I started it there, and I quit because it failed. And then I took those failures, and I made it a success. And now we have this great show. Or at least I think it's become a hell of a show. And I know this wasn't the funniest episode. I know it was a little bit more analytical. And last week was just kind of crazy comedy. And a lot of this was just the numbers and box office. But now that I've gotten this out of the way, my top 10, we can move on to the future of Box Office Addict. We'll need to PM you for any diet suggestions you have. Man, I could put you on a great diet plan. I've helped at least, God, I could do at least 15 people I know I've helped lose weight and get in shape. Just off advice I gave, just off the food I told them to eat and what to do. And the workouts to do, and I mean, just crazy results. Insures are a great thing to drink after exercising. Yeah, I just started making protein shakes. That's back when I used to make protein shakes that had like 80 grams of protein in the shake. It was ridiculous. No, I have not seen Black Panther, but I will. I definitely will. Cartman is an angry boy because of a small wiener. That's true. He does have a small wiener in that episode. They reveal it. It's a good point. But thank you for everyone who's been watching this whole time. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. And I hope that we can do 30 more. And I hope you guys had a fun time. I hope you don't disagree with too much of what I said here on my top 10. And leave in the comments what's just done. What impressed you the most at the box office in 2017? Give me your opinion on that. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And you know, what do you think about the weekends of the new films and diet plan video? I could just become one of those channels. Yeah, those channels get crazy hits. Like those workout channels and the diet channels. I can't believe how many views those get, man. I mean, because I used to go on them to look. It's crazy. Like, if you just upload a video of yourself doing push-ups and telling somebody how to, like, eat, that could get, like, 100,000 hits. It's crazy. It's so weird. I think I would like your advice on losing weight. I tend to eat a little bit too much and have a sweet tooth. Well, the biggest issue is having a sweet tooth. You gotta stop eating sweets, man. There's nothing wrong with eating a lot of food. As long as you eat a lot and you exercise to balance out what you eat, the eating's only going to benefit you. Food gives you energy. It makes your body better. 70% of looking good is nutrition, is eating. It's not hitting the weights. It's how you eat. And yeah, the sweets they're just not going to do anything for you, man. I'd say you want to be healthy, you got to go buy a lot of bland. You got to go buy chicken. You got to go buy rice. You got to go buy cottage cheese. You got to go get peanut butter, real peanut butter, because that's good fats. You got to get healthy fats. You got to cut down eating bread. If you eat carbs, it has to be a potato with no butter on it. It's got to be rice. Stuff like that. Is Justice League the biggest box office disappointment ever? Definitely one of them. Are you tempted to make political videos? Maybe. If you do workout videos, you should do an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hans and Franz, we're here to pump you up. I mean, I'm not that big. It's not like, I mean, if I took my shirt off, it would look pretty cool. But it wouldn't look like those guys in those videos. It wouldn't be like, man, I got to look like that guy. But, you know, realistically, yeah, if you just want to be leaner, I have a sweet tooth, yet 112 pounds. I'll consider myself lucky. Well, that's just metabolism, but that still doesn't mean your body's healthy. You probably don't have any muscle whatsoever. That's why you weigh so little. If you actually had some muscle, you would have more weight on you because muscle weighs a lot more than fat. Like, I don't look that big, and I weigh 175 pounds, and I look like a guy who weighs like 150 pounds, but that's because of the muscle. That means, yeah, you may look skinny, but you probably have a lot of fat. Like, not fat that you can notice. It's what we kind of call skinny fat, but you probably actually have a lot of body fat that you don't realize you have. Even if you have a really fast metabolism, it's still better to eat high proteins. Although carbs is how you gain mass, so I guess with you should eat more carbs. You want to get if you want to get up to like 130 pounds, start eating carbs. Because yeah, that's how you get really big. And yeah, you got to do a mix of intense cardio and lifting weights. Lifting weights, you burn fat. Intense cardio helps keep the fat burning. Body types contribute to that too, somewhat. But you can pretty much overcome your body type for the most part, unless you have some kind of disability with how long your legs are or something like that, or you have something like a knee issue. But for the most part, most people can do a pretty big physical transformation within a year. You can only gain about 20 pounds of muscle if you work hard in a year, and I mean, that's you work hard. So realistically, yeah, if you worked your butt off for a year, you might be able to get 10, 12 pounds of muscle and, get a little bit of a lower body fat percentage. But that's about it. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? My younger brother has a crazy metabolism. He probably eats as much junk as me and mostly plays video games, and yet he has a lean body. Yeah, man, it happens. I mean, it's definitely weird. That is a genetic thing. It's how you live longer. A lot of people smoke cigarettes and drink, and they live to be 85 because they have beast genetics. You can't fight your genetics. You're stuck with what you have. Once you learn your genetics, though, and how to manipulate them, you can improve. For sure. Sorry, bro. Is changing into an exercise and health. Yeah, bro. Bro, welcome to the health channel, bro. This video has been produced by GNC. Please go buy your protein powders and products there now. Get your creatine now. I try to sell like Alex Jones stuff, like buy this creatine and you'll get twice as big in a week. Do you want to gain 20 pounds of muscle in 2 weeks? Buy this creatine for $49.99. Did you go to the Philly riots last Sunday? Oh my god. Alright, I'm going to end this. We're not doing box anymore. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. 30 episodes. Box Office Addict. If you are a fan, you are an addict yourself. I am not here to help you with your addictions. I'm here to encourage them. And it's great. And, oh man, things change quick. Yeah, that's the way of the world. It's the way of the world. The times, they are a-changin'. Anyway, I'll play you guys out some Sharkfoot music. And, I love you guys. I really do. Like, I feel like you guys have listened to me for hours on end, so there's almost this weird intimate relationship you probably have with me because you've heard my voice. So you kind of understand. There's a context to me that you understand. You see the human in me even when you don't agree with me. And, oddly enough, I feel more human through you guys. It makes me... I'm more passionate, not because you guys watch. Because that's just shallow. It's because of what I get from you guys. That's the channel. Without you guys, none of the material would come from anywhere. I will start uploading more videos. It won't just be once a week. I'll finally upload a damn podcast, which I won't do, and I'll get that Bright review and all that, but blah, 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 blah. Alright. Anyway, like and subscribe, and please rewind your VHS tapes. And if you don't, then... I don't know what to tell you. And don't take your VHS tapes to a red box. They don't take them. I tried. I tried to put my VHS tape into a red box, and the person at Walmart came and told me to get the hell out of there. So, it's unfortunate. Alright, guys. Bye.